So macros allow us to basically do a job once, record it, and then replay it as many number of times as you like. That's the use. I mean, if you don't have to do it, the only advantage, and that's a big advantage, is you do it once, and then you can just play it as many times as you like, or execute it. Macros are told to be executed. You're running those macros, right? It's called execution of macros, and you can run them as many number of times as you like. That's the advantage. So you could say, oh, I'll write it once, and then all I'll do is I'll kind of, do it for like drag and drop copy kind of stuff, but it won't work here. It won't. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to create two macros today. I'm going to use relative reference. If you remember relative reference, if you go to your developer, under your macros, there is a use relative references, right? So there are two ways you can record your macro. One, you can use relative references, and two, absolute, like there's no relative reference. So whenever you're going to use your keyboard navigation, whenever you're going to work with your keyboard, so you're moving right, left, up, down with your keys, then you will always use relative references, right? But if you're doing a job that doesn't require moving, all you're saying is select this block, then do this, like something that you will do in the assignment today, then you do not need relative references. So you'll see both. I'll do it relative references, and in your assignment it will be non-relative references, right? So you'll see both ways of creating macros. So I'm going to create two macros. You have to name them. How do you name your macros? Letters, digits, underscore was allowed, I think, yes. And 255 characters in them, which is quite a bit. Okay. So at this point of time, all I did from the original Excel file was I created a new column A, right? You already had A, I shifted it, I created a new column A. In there, I changed my names to proper format. So all my names now have their first letter capitalized. That's how we usually write our names, right? Our first letter of our first name and last name is in capital. Once I did the proper, then I created 4 new columns after B. Just inserted new columns because I need them. I want to show you the steps I will do. My aim is to find the position of the comma or the blank in both those, and then before comma and after comma split it, and similarly before blank and after blank split. That's what my job is, right? So I created 4 new columns, and there they are, and then I disabled my macro security. My macro security right now is disabled. So if you'll go to your macro security, notice how I've said enable all macros. Security is right now because I want to create macros. And then I saved this file as a macro enabled Excel file. So therefore you see the extension XLS. Now I open the macro file again and I'm ready to work on it. Okay, so now I'm going to create my macro. So this was all kind of prepping for it. But the most important thing to remember is you can only create macros in a macro enabled file, right? Which of course we didn't do last time. So we were just doing this stuff. So I said, why repeat it again? So I just kind of created it and we are ready to go. So not much. Create a new column, use a proper function, drag drop, and create 4 new columns. Please ensure that your macro security, which I have before I saved it, is enable all macros for now, which is not recommended at all. And now we are going to use relative references. Okay, so see that you have this clicked. And notice how you can start anywhere. I don't know how the notes say. I'll kind of go with the notes so that if you're following them, we do them. I think I did the first name, last name first. Really doesn't matter. Oh God. Yeah, I started with the A2. So I'm doing the formatting of this name first, and then I'll do both of them. I'm just following what I have on my document. You could do either. Okay, so see that your mouse is on your active cell is A2. You have your active cell marked as A2 because that's my first job. And my job is to break up that name, Emila Eckermann, into 2. The first name and the last name. That's my job. So the logic is find the position of the blank. Anything before the blank is the first name. Anything after the blank is the last name. Right? That's the logic. So I'm going to now write a little bit of logic. I'm not going to do programming, but I'm kind of following the steps that we do in programming. So what do? I kind of find the position of the blank. Anything before the blank, I'll use a function to pick that part up, and I'll use a function to pick the second part up, and I put them in different columns. Okay? And then after I'm done, I'll have a column in which I'll only have first names. I'll have a column in which I'll only have last names. and then I'll remove my A, B's or whatever I do. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So once you open the macro file, please see that you have relative references on, because I'm going to use my keyboard navigation in this macro. I just have to use it. That's what I'm doing right now. So you'll see both ways, as I said. I'll do it using keyboard navigation, and in your assignment, you will do absolute. You won't need to do the keyboard. Okay. And my active cell is A2. It's very important that where you sit and how you use your keyboard, right, left, it will all be recorded. So you can't make mistakes. If you make a mistake, then you'll have to restart. And it's just practice. Even if I do it 10 times, I may make a mistake the 11th time. So it's just practice, nothing else. And if the macro is small, it doesn't take a lot of time. You just get used to it. Okay. And again, another thing that I mentioned last week, I'll repeat, please don't use your enter key. Anytime you have to kind of do enter, please use this enter box. The difference between using the enter key and the enter box is simply this. If I'm at a cell and I go enter, I change my position. But if I'm at a cell and I go enter, I use this one after I, of course, write something. If I use this one, so see the difference. This is using the enter key. Notice how the active cell has moved from its current position to the next position. It has been accepted. The FF goes into that cell and it has been accepted. Whereas if I do something like this and I don't press the enter key but press this enter, this is also enter, I stay in the same cell. So it has been accepted, but it is in the same cell. So we have to be careful about this enter key. Okay, that's what we'll have to be careful about in this, because you'll see whatever you do will be recorded and it will be repeated as many times where you do it. Okay, so let's start. So my first job is to create a macro called first name, maybe because I'm doing first name, last name, right? My use relative references is on. My active cell is A2. I will be using keyboard navigation throughout as I do it. So do it slowly with me, okay? And now I'm ready to record my macro. Okay, so to record your macro, there is a record macro switch here, right here. There's a button here, we'll start recording it. So ensure that your A2 cell is active. I'm just following what I've done in here so that if you're following me, we are the same, right? And it says each of the commands you perform will be saved into the macro so that you can play them back again and again and again. It's just a recording. That's all you are doing. Okay. And for your information, records, what is being recorded is it's set of statements. What you're doing is changed into set of statements using the language in Excel, which is Visual Basic, right? It's not Visual Basic, it's VBA, Visual Basic for applications. And if you know a little bit of programming and you've made a mistake in the macro, you can always go back into the coding and kind of change it there if you understand what's going on. Right? So you don't have to always re-record. I mean, if you know what you're doing, I mean, of course you need programming knowledge, which is not a big thing, but definitely it's not your forte, right? But we can do that. Okay, so we are ready to go, right? So see that A2 cell is the active cell. See that it is the active, click it and then say record my macro. Now we are starting to recording our macro. So whatever you do after this, it's all being recorded. Okay, so it says, what's your macro name? Again, to give the same thing as what I've done, I think I called it first name. I'll try to follow it too, right? So again, you can be a 255 characters, letters, numbers, and underscores. Nothing else can you use. So you could have called it first underscore name. I've called it first name. You can call it whatever you like as long as it makes sense. Don't call it ABC or XYZ, right? So I'm saying this macro is called first name. Everything needs an identification, because then how will you talk to it? How will you say, oh, run my first macro, unless it has a name? Okay, so names are important. Okay, so I've called it first name. And as I said, you can use any letters, you can use digits, you can use the underscore, and that's it. Nothing else in the macro name. Now, if you would like to have a shorthand key, sure, go ahead. I'm going to make it a Control F. Please avoid keys that are already used in your Control F is also for find. But if I just went with that because first name is F. That's why, right? So this Control F says anytime you want to run this macro, you can go Control F and you will run. Okay, that's what's the meaning of shorthand. So instead of, there are a couple of ways to run the macro, which I'll tell you once I'm done. But if you just want to use a shorthand key, it's a Control F is what I've said. Okay. Okay, and then it says store the macro in this workbook, which is perfectly fine. You could have said you have different options. You could have said in the new workbook, in a personal macro workbook, all macros are saved in a personal workbook. That means their code is saved there. I'm just sitting with this workbook and the description says, what are you doing in this macro? So basically this macro splits the name in the format first name blank last name into first name and last name. You can call it separate if split doesn't make sense to you, right? Splits is just a programming word. You're splitting it, so you can say separates if you like. That's what it does. It separates the name which is in this format. The format I've given you, this is the format, first name blank last name into first name and last name. So it separates them into two parts. That's what it does. A small description is good because if you come back to see what did you do in this macro, and of course you'll forget. It's if you're writing macros all the time, you can't remember all of them, what was done. So a good name and a good description will always help you remember what is in the macro. What does your macro do? Okay. So you can choose whatever short key you like. I am sticking with F just because of my first name, and I'm going to just write a small description, and I would highly recommend that you go with a good name and a description and do an OK. Right. So now my macro is being recorded in a macro called first name. That's all it is doing. So now we have to kind of do these steps. Okay. Okay. Now my job is come back to your home. So exactly what I'm doing now will be followed. Why am I coming back to home? Because I'll need to use the ribbon there, right? So I'm getting its ribbon up. Okay, this is what I want. Now I'm at A2. Go right. I'll exactly follow it. So click the right arrow key twice to move to cell C2. Don't use your mouse. 1 and 2. Use your keyboard, right? We are saying use relative references. Relative references means whatever I'm doing on my keyboard is what you have to do. So the macro is saying wherever you are sitting right now, it will move 2 places to the right. Okay. So when I run the macro, I'll come where I want to run it. And after that, it will just start following the steps I've done. It will move right to 2 places. So now I am at C2. Now what I have to do is I have to find out what is the length of my name. Length means it will just count how many characters, including the blank. It will find the length of my name. I'm trying to find the length of my name. You'll say, why? Because if you have text, right, you have some data, unless you know the length of it, how will you say, oh, I want to take the first 10 before the comma, or I want to take the last 10? When you need numbers, right? So length will allow you to find out the length of your data, what you're working with. So the function that is available is length. And so we will type it. So just type, say equal len, it's just len, and then start your round brackets, normal. Just follow me, don't do anything before I do. And then click on A2. So you're basically saying this is whose length I want to find, right? So type equal to length, don't forget anything. If you forget, you just have to re-record it. So equal says I'm using a formula, a function. Length is, or len as it is called in Excel, is basically a function that will calculate the length of your text field, and my text field in this case is A2, and then close it and press the enter box, not the enter key, the enter box, right? So it has calculated the length 15. You say from where does it 15 count it? ANELIA blank ACKERMA. Now it's not here, but it may happen that your data has extra blanks on the right hand side or on the left hand side or in middle. Here there is nothing, but if I had to do that, I would first trim it, right? I've only done a proper yet, but if I had blanks, extra blanks either way, I would have trimmed it before I went to the left. So there would have been an extra step. I don't need it here, so I just use the proper function. If there were extra blanks, I could have just said proper, and then I would have trimmed it and then created the new column. So you have to see what is required. I don't require to trim my data at all. My data is not untidy. Less, right? we have one of yours for sure every class, right? Okay, right? So since it is neat, I didn't have to trim it. But again, if you wanted to, before in that column A where you had used the proper function, you should have said proper, and then you should have said trim, and then label the proper. I didn't need to, so I didn't. So don't, it's not a hard and fast rule that I'll only need proper. It depends upon what data you have. You're cleaning your data. Okay. Okay. So what this has done is it has created a number 15, which is okay, which is the length of that name, including the blank. So why did I want to trim it before I started? Because if there were extra blanks, I didn't want, I mean, that was not part of my name. Otherwise, my first name would have become blank, 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 whatever. And my last name would have last name, blank, blank, and extra blanks everywhere. So I should have actually created one with more untidy data, but I didn't trim it. I didn't need to trim it. Therefore, I did not trim it. Okay. So my length is ready. So my mouse, see, I haven't left my active cell. That's the use of the enter box. Okay, so now we have finished what we wanted to do. Now we will again move right to D2, one arrow key only. Move one place to the right using your arrow key. And now I know the length of my name. I know it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for blank in that name. Right? So that's my next step. So again, I'll need a formula. I'll again need a function. Okay. So what is my function? Type with me. And again, we'll go slow. We'll go equal to search. Notice what it says, returns the number of the character at which a specific character is occurring. Right? So I'm saying, okay, now search for what? Start your opening brackets. Say, I want to search for the blank. You want to search for the blank. So start your double quotes, put a space bar and end your quotes. So you're saying, I'm going to search for blank. Where? You want to search in, put a comma. See, it says find text, and within what text? I want to find it where? I want to find my comma in this name called A2. So press A2, put back your brackets and press the enter box. Okay, and press the enter box. So I'll repeat if you have lost me. I've used the right arrow to move to D2. Then I typed the formula search. I said, what am I searching for? I'm searching for the blank. And click A2 to begin entering the formula. So I said A2. Now click the enter box. And what does 7 mean? 7 gives you the position where the blank is appearing. A-N-E-L-I-A, blank. So the position of blank is 7. That's what search does. Okay? Search gives you the position of the data you're searching. What are you searching for in the text you're searching? So I'm searching for a blank in my name. So my answer is 7. Right? So I now have 7. I know the total length. I know where the blank is. All I have to do a little bit of math. Right? All I have to do is a little bit of math to find out my first name and to find out my last name. Okay, so now the next step. With me? Everybody with me? If you lose it, just finish it and then follow and then repeat it again. My document, I think, is good enough to kind of walk you through again. Okay, so the next step now is, now again I move right one place. So again, now my aim is to extract the last name and the first name, right? Now there are functions available again, of course. And all this is programming. Somebody has written functions for you, you're using it, right? So now I'm going to use, let me see, am I doing right first or? Okay, so I'm trying to find out the last name first. E2 will contain last name, okay? Now, how do I find the last name? Think about it. I have to start from the right. I want to get Eckermann out, right? I know the total length. I know where the comma occurs. So what math must I do to extract it? So 15 is my total length. My comma is at 7. 15 minus 7, 8. So from the right, I should extract 8 characters. That will give me my last name. Right? So the total length is 15. My comma occurs at 7. So that means the first 7 are gone. How many am I left with? 8. 8 plus 7 is 15. From the right, extract 8 characters. What will I get? My last name. Okay. So now again, I'm going to use a formula. So please go equal, sorry, function, not a formula. Please go equal. Now say right. And see what the function says. It says returns the specified number of characters from the end of the text string. Like normal right. So from the end of the text string, it is going to return the specified number of characters. How many do you want? Right? How many do you want is what it is saying. Okay. So now how many do I want? So let's start. How many do I want is, the formula is from where? So I want it from here. I want it from here. How many do you want? I want 8, but I can't use 8 because I'm doing my math in my head, 15 minus 7 or whatever. But this will change for every name. So I just can't write 8 here. I'll have to use a formula. And your formula is take what is in my C2, right? And subtract from it whatever is in my D2. This same, but when I come here, it will be something else. When I come here, it will be something else. So I mean, I'm writing a general formula. I'm saying, so therefore I found its length, and then I found it where the blank was occurring. The subtraction will tell me how many do I want to extract. Put an enter, put a bracket and press the enter box. See, Ackermann has been extracted. Right? I've got the Ackermann. Yes, Julie.
So when you're doing cell references, is there a difference between clicking on the cell, like you click on A2, or should we be clicking on C2, clicking on D2, or typing them? Does it matter?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
it doesn't.
So we could
Yeah.
type A2 and
Yeah. The only thing is, give me a minute. When you're saying, let me see, relative references. Let me think. When I repeat this formula somewhere else,
we have C2,
yeah, that's a valid question. Let me think about it. So I clicked on A2 because I went left and I clicked it, right? But for C2 and D2, so A2 I'm clicking because I'm saying pick up a name from that left-hand side. Wait, give me a minute. I'm just thinking. Will it be smart enough to say that the C2 and D2 are coming from the same? You know what? We will know once we do it. I'll double check in, yeah. But A2 definitely. So because it is relative references, if I say I click on A2, or if I only write A2 and now I run it somewhere else, no, I think it will work, because what it is doing is when we drag and drop, Jillian, it does the same thing, right? It kind of makes that reference itself. So if you write a formula and you drag and drop, it makes a reference. It doesn't matter whether you click on it or whether you write the formula. So I think we'll be okay either way. Thinking the same logic. Jillian said, is it important that you click on A2 or you click on C2 and D2, or you just can write the formula? And I'm saying I think I'm okay. Why? Because when we use Excel otherwise, if you write a formula and when you drag and drop, when you kind of drag it, it automatically changes cell references. Right? So now if I run my macro in A2, and then after that, suppose I will run it in A3, it should be smart enough to replace A2s, C2s, and D2s by A3s. Is my thinking. That is relative references, right? That's what it is. Okay, and where were we now? Okay, now we have to go one place again to the right. Right? And now I have to extract something from the left. Oh, I missed something. Okay, that's okay. Doesn't matter. I'll do it afterwards. This Ackermann is using a formula. It's using a formula, right? So I made a small mistake. I'll have to come back anyway. It's a formula it is using. Now I'm going to do a copy and paste of its value, because afterwards, otherwise, when I start deleting my C column and a D column, which I will delete, I don't want that in my data, then it will start having reference errors, right? So I missed a little step, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. Let's go back. If you haven't, that's fine. And if you're not, it's not a big deal. Come back to the cell using your left arrow key. Before I leave this cell, I want to do a Control C and a Control V with paste value, right? Why? Please understand why. The same thing that was happening last week. I should have done it, but that's okay. So now this, notice there is a formula there. You say is equal to write A2 whatever, there's a formula there. Now, when everything is done and finished, and I remove these columns C and D from my Excel worksheet, which I will, I don't want to see those 15 and 7s, then I start having reference errors, because C will not be available, D will not be available, and it will start creating problems. So before you leave this cell, do a copy of this cell, and please do it with me, right? Okay, what do I want to do? Do a Control C to copy it, right? And we will now do a Control V with value, the same that I did last week, right? So do a Control C, and let me see, give me a minute to copy the contents and paste back with a Control V, okay? So go to paste, or I think if we, yep, I think that's how we'll do it. So go to paste, and if you remember, there it is, paste value, there it is, right? The first one. The second was formatting, and the third one said with something else. It's not, it doesn't, I mean, you could do either, but there is no formatting, so I'll use the first one. Copy it back. Right? So what have I done? I have copied my cell into the same cell, but now I've kind of replaced. Notice now I have replaced the formula C2 minus D2 by its value. So which Control V to use is important. I've taken text and put it back. So a Control C and a Control V to paste it back. So now if you notice, it's kind of, see the value that it's gone to Ackermann. Now go to the right. Oh, do an escape also. Escape to remove that dash that comes, and then move to the right. So my macro has an extra step, but that's okay, right? So now I move to the right cell. So I moved and then I came back. So it will do it every time. It will move and then come back, then move and come back. That's what it is. At least it's not a logical error. If there's a logical error, I would have to start again. This was something I just kind of a little step that I missed. Logical error means you wrote a wrong formula or something. You wrote a wrong function or something, right? So you have to be careful when you do that. Okay, now here. Now I want to extract my first name, right? I again will use a formula. In the other one, I said right. In this, I'm going to again use a formula, and I think the formula is left, and I am right. So again, go equal, use the function called left. Now what does it left do? It says returns the specified number of characters from the start of the text. So the right was working from the end of the text, like your right hand, and your left is working from the left of the text. Okay, so now in left, start your formula. And now what do you want to do? You want to extract how many characters from your text. Of course, from A to how many, but how many? Mathematically, if your math is strong. I know 15. I know where my blank occurs. 6, but that's just doing math. In a formula, how will you write it? Definitely, I'll have to use my length and so on. Yamini has an idea. D2 minus 1, exactly. D2 minus 1. Right? D2 gives you where the blank is. If the blank is at 7, you have to extract the first 6. If the blank is at 10, you have to extract the first 9. If the blank is at 8, you have to extract the first 7 or whatever. Just D2 minus 9. So again, so we'll try it. I think I'm perfectly fine. You can, instead of clicking on A2, we can just say A2. I'm just going to write it. Logically, I don't think there would be a problem from what I'm considering. And then we will go comma. And as Yamini said, D2 minus 1. Right, that's the formula. So my blank is at D2 and all I do is D2 minus 1. And press your enter box. Don't leave this box yet because I have to do a copy and a paste. Right? So again, there is a formula there, A2 D2 minus 1. The formula looks okay because I have my first name. And I don't want to include the blank. I want my name without the blank. So I didn't say 7, I didn't say D2, I said D2 minus 1. Anything before the blank. Okay? And now do the same thing, do a control C and then paste it back with a control V with a value. So do a control C, go to your paste, go to your value, and there it is. Right? And then once it is done, do an escape. So I just followed steps and you followed them with me. Right? So in case we have we are done, right? It says come back to press the home key to make cell A2 active. I don't think it is necessary, but anyway, if it is done, it is done. So I'm going to press my home key to, this was the cell. Anyway, again, a mistake. So my home key on my laptop is going, it's a blue. I had to use it with blue. There. Press your home key to come back to where you started. I don't think it is necessary, but that's okay. I don't want to take any risk. Right? So press your home key to come back to where you started. My macro is done. Stop recording. Stop recording. So developer and stop recording. Maybe in mine the home key had to be used with the function key. There it is, home key. The home key. Home key means it should say home on it. It's called the home key. Right? It is with your number 7 on your keyboards. Right? It was number 7 on the number pad. On the number pad. Mine was, I forgot it was in blue. I had to use it. Now my macro is done. My macro is done. Now comes. I went to developer and stopped recording. Yeah, that's okay. Nothing else. The home key was to come back to A2. So I don't think it was necessary. It's not necessary. I don't think it is at all. I mean, my macro is done. Right now, so that's what has happened. My macro is recorded. Now we will do the other one also. We'll create one for the other name which is in the format last name comma first. So I'll create another one. So this macro is done. You'll say, how do I test it? Let's see. I'll show you one way of testing it, unless I have to do something specific. Come to this third name, Narendra Seth, right? And I created a shorthand key, Control F. Try a Control F. There it is. Come to that third name and do a Control F. If whatever shorthand key you create. That's one way of doing it. I'll tell you another. You can add it to your toolbar by going and doing it. And forget, because control F is, control keys are easy. But I'll add it to your toolbar. You can add it here to your quick access tools. It's not a big deal. Let's do it. I can't remember how, but I'm sure when I do it. This is how you customize your quick access toolbar. Click on it. All you do is come to whatever name, like this one, do a control F, and it will exactly do what you've done. It's just repeating what you did. Repeating the macro. Yes. What was it? It's just a recorded. You can just say it's something you recorded, right? So when you, if you want to record your lecture like I'm doing it, it's just being recorded. When you want to hear it again, you just play it. So I'm just playing my macro. I'm executing my macro. Playing it. And I can play it as many number of times as I want. Right? So I'm just playing my macro. I don't have to repeat those steps. Now you can also, so control F was the short form. Yes, Danksy. You have an error because I see that your code is there. Yeah. What does it say? It says, okay, so somewhere you didn't start where you should have started. You have a range. So you selected a range before you started. Okay, so you messed up somewhere. Unless, can you close that window? Let's close that window. This window, this window. Okay, let's come back to your sheet. Look at your sheets here. Nothing coming up here. Okay, let's try it once more. Come here. So did you create? Yeah, just select. Did you create a shorthand key? Control F. Okay, so yeah, you didn't get it too. Hopefully, you started recording your macro before you did the macro. Yeah, but code, but it will take time. Do you understand code? Do you understand VBA? Yeah, so we could, but I can do it right now and sit with you. I don't know VB, I know Visual Basic, but I could too. But it's fine, right? I cannot see, yeah. So did you record your macro before you started? Did you push the record macro button? Your macro never, like, but I see some code in yours, so definitely it was recorded, right? So.
I got the first one right.
Yeah, but you got it because you were doing something. But unless you record it, how will you replay it? So that's, if you miss that, then it's not there, right? Okay. So now, just for your information, if you want to see your macros, just so that you know, if you want to see your macros, here they are. See, you can run it, you can step into, you can edit it, you can delete it. So if you want to delete it, you can. I went to macros. Now, if I want to see what's in my macro, I'm going to say, I'll just open it, edit. Edit means open it for change. And this is the macro that was created for me. So now, Danksy, what you could do is you could copy mine. You know, you can see what the changes are. So this is what happened when you were recording it. Notice this is programming. This is just, it just wrote a program for it in VBA, Visual Basic for Applications, right? So it says, notice anything that you see with a single quote here is a comment. It's a comment that had to put. It says first name is, the macro's name is first name. This macro separates the name in the format. Remember, this is a description you wrote. And then you said my control F was my shorthand key. So what you see here in single quotes are comments. Comments means these statements are not executed. Okay, that's what a comment is. Now, all these statements are executed. Notice how it starts with a word called sub. Sub stands for sub procedure. The name of the, what you gave it. And the opening and the closing bracket. You see opening and closing brackets in your functions. It says it doesn't need anything from you. That's my parameter list. It doesn't need anything. What did it do? It said my active cell offset 0, 2. Offset 0, 2 means from I'm at, remember you selected A2. A2. So A is your first column, offset is 0, and your row is 2. So it says your first active cell is offset 0, 2. 0 standing for the column number A, because you did, there was offset means what? Remove from wherever. Offset. So offset 0, 2 means you started from cell A2, right? That's what it is saying. And then, I mean, you can kind of read through and do things that are here, but you need to know VBA. And I don't know VBA. I've never programmed in VBA. But maybe in a couple of days I can figure it out. You know what I mean? Like I have to learn it. It's just a language. It's just another language. I've done Visual Basic, but it doesn't seem too much like that. But as I said, it's just nothing else. So when you did a right formula, see how it wrote it? RC -4, RC -2. What are these -4, -2 values? And here, Jillian, here is your answer. When I say right RC -4, it went towards the right, -4 towards the left. So if I'm at a cell and I'm saying -4, it's going to A2. So wherever I run it, it will just go -4 towards the left. So minus says go towards the left, and then RC -2 was again, I think it's talking about some columns, right? And so on and so forth. So it will work. It is working, of course, but this is what it is doing. It's not keeping the names of the cell. It is saying wherever you are, which cell did you use? I used the cell which was 4 places towards the left. That's why that -4. So this is what it has created for you. This is your macro. Now, if somebody knew VBA, or if somebody wanted to code the macro even without doing the steps, that's all they have to do. So if you know programming, you don't have to do something. You could write a macro. The macro is ready, and now you can just run it as many times. But of course, you need to know VBA, right? So it's just coding, nothing else. It's not a big deal. But for non-programmers, of course, it's a big deal. You can't write. So what did you do? You recorded it. You did the steps. You made the steps. Right, you did the steps, and now it's recorded it for you. Here are the steps. So every time you go and do a control F at a cell, it just follows this. It just follows this top to bottom in sequence. That's what it does. There's your macro. Macro. Done, Dancy? Can I take it off? Yep. No problem. So what is Dancy trying to do is she must have made a mistake somewhere. I don't know what she did. Must have. So what she's trying to do is she'll open up this and she'll copy mine, or she'll just see how her macro is different, and she'll make the changes. Once she has what I have, remember I did an extra step, but that's okay. I mean, as I said, I moved to the right, had to come back to the left to do a control C, control V, which I could have done at the end too. Doesn't matter. But all it has done is recorded my steps. Okay, so let's close this. So this is what is in macros for your information. Okay, let's come back to where we were. Here we are. Okay, so I did a control F. Now there is another way you could add this macro to this toolbar. This is called your quick access toolbar. Click on it. Remember, you've done this before. I don't know. I can't remember. And now let's customize it. And do what? More commands, I think. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. I want to add more commands to my quick toolbar. So here I'm here. Look for your macros. Select macros and look for the one that you just created. First name, F. There it is, first name. Here. You want to add this to your quick toolbar. Like you did the developer thing, I'm just putting it now in my access toolbar. So I clicked on that. I said I want to add more commands. In the more commands, I chose macro. Then I chose first name and I'll say add. It will go and it will be added in my quick toolbar. Now it has a default image. Notice how it has that image of whatever. You can actually modify it. You can add it and you can give it whatever you like. You can give whatever modify you like. So I don't know, what would you like? You can make it a smiley face if you like. You can put it a filter if you like, whatever you like. Right? So you can give whatever filter you like. I mean, don't use ones that already have a meaning. Notice like this one is the format painter. This one is the fill. It's up to you, but I wouldn't. And then, or there's a pig here, if, like a small one if you like, whatever you like. I would do a filter. Filter is like filtering it, but it depends on whatever I'll use the smiley face and do an OK. So this macro first name will now occur and do an OK. Uh-oh, the yellow didn't come. That's strange, right? I chose the yellow one. So notice this is one. Now what you can do is, let's go to a name. Let's go here, Vikram Verma, and click on this. And it will do it for you. So now you have two ways. You could do a control F or you could choose it from. So I've added it to my toolbar. That's all I can do. That's the difference, right? I added it to my toolbar. So instead of doing a control F now, choose whatever name you like. Anything. Don't do it for a different name. Like choose it only where you have first name and last name. If you try to do it somewhere else, it will mess up. It won't do what you wanted it to do. There was no blank. I think there is a blank after the comma, but it will give you wrong answers. Why? It will assume that Suresh is your first name and Joaquin is your last name, right? And you will have comma also with it. Try it if you want. It's not a big deal. It's just wrong. We'll need it, but it's just wrong. So let's take this Suzanne and say, do it. See, I have a wrong answer. It just followed my steps. Anything before the blank, it took to be the, after the blank, it took to be the first name. So Suzanne becomes opposite. Suzanne becomes the last name and Bevan with the comma becomes my first name. So it just did what you do. Yes?
When I'm pressing Control F, it's showing 0 and 8.
That means you did something wrong while you recorded. That's the whole thing. If it doesn't work, then something is wrong. Okay, so this is wrong. My answer is wrong in this one, but that's what happens, right? So I can do a control F for the shorthand key, or I added one here, and all you had to do was go here, say I want to add more commands. I chose macro from here, and I picked up my first name and I added it. The only strange thing is I have a yellow smiley face, good smiley face here, but when I see it on my toolbar, it's coming as a white thing, and I have no clue why. So let's modify it again and maybe give it a filter and say okay, and then do an okay. There is the filter. It's all going white. So you can change the icon to whatever you like, but give it an icon that you can remember. That's the whole sense of giving it an icon. So I couldn't find a very good one, but filtering is kind of filter it. It's not filtering, but anyway, you know what I mean? You have to think of an icon. Or just leave it at the random, but when you bring your mouse to it, it will show you its first name. So I did mess up my Suzanne thing, which is okay, but I wanted to show you that it's not doing the right job in this one, because Suzanne is not the last name and Bevin comma is not the first name. It's the opposite. But that's what you told it to do. You said, find the blank. Anything after the blank is my last name. Anything after the blank is my last name, and anything before the blank is my first name. It just did that good. So you record it wrong, you get wrong answers. You know what I mean? Like you have to use the right macro. So I use the right one when I come to it. So one macro done, recorded, checked. Know how to use it? Control F, because if depending upon whatever shorthand key you created, or add it to your toolbar. One job done. Now I want to create a macro for this. Now I want to create a macro for this name. Now this name format is what? This name is basically in the format last name, comma. There is a blank also I see, and then the first name. Grammatically, you always put a blank after the comma. So we'll record another macro. I'll again do the same job, but of course different steps, right? Different formulas. I still have to extract from the right, from the left, but who's what, I have to know. So now my format is last name, comma, first name. Okay, now let's start again. Are we all ready to record our second macro now? Okay, so I'll do the same thing. Please see that your use relative references is on. All my, whatever I'm doing, I'm using my keyboard navigation. So I have to make it on. If you don't, you'll see what will happen. Try it anytime. Like it will, you record it, it will record it perfectly fine. But when you try to run it somewhere else, it just says, oh, you said absolute. Absolute means go to cell A2. Go to cell A15. That it will just do what you like. It will just do the same thing. Everything will be the same. It won't do the steps properly. Everywhere you will see 15.7 Ackerman Amelia, because that's exactly what it will do with absolute addressing. Okay. Now let's start again. So please see that your use relative references is on. Your active cell is A1, because that's what I'm going to. You could pick up anything. You could have picked up A4. Doesn't matter. Like anywhere where you see this format, and we will start recording our macro. Okay, we'll say record macro. Now let's call this macro last name. You can create whatever shorthand key you want. I'm going to create Control L. The description is that this macro separates the name in the format. And what's the format now? Our format is last name, comma, blank, first name. That's the format I see. This is the format of my name. Last name, comma, blank, first name. I think there is a blank after every comma. So this data is neat. It's already, there's nothing untidy about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing untidy about it. The only thing that was untidy about it was all in uppercase. But before you start working, any untidiness has to be cleaned. Extra blanks will be the one that I'm thinking. Of course, it can have digits, Anju 1, 2, 3, but that's silly then. Like the name itself is wrong. You know what I mean? Okay, and now this macro separates the name in the format last name, first name into first name and last name. Again, the description will help, because who knows, after 5 days, I may not even remember what I did. That's why descriptions are always helpful. And therefore, again, good names are always helpful. You cannot forget them, right? They make sense. You could have called it separate. I mean, whatever, like anything that makes sense to you. So I just call them first name and last name. So that's my description. I'm done. We'll do an okay. Okay, now the same steps, right? But again, very carefully with me. So your A1 was already selected, hopefully. It was relative references, can't go wrong there. If you've made that mess, just delete it and come back again. And I'm now going to, I'm recording it. I already said record. Okay, so now follow these steps with me. Okay, we have to move 2 arrows towards the right. 2 places towards the right. And again, I'll use my length function. And now it really doesn't matter. We've already kind of double checked the code. The code was moving right or left. So you can type yourself A1 if you like, or you can select the cell A1 if you like. Whatever, it's both are good. And press the enter box. One job done. Now 15 is by chance, they are both 15. It's not, it's just a coincidence. It could be anything. So SOARES, a blank and a comma. JOAQUIM. It's just 15. Like, I mean, don't, it's not, they're not both equal to 15 means, oh, it's the same thing. It's just by chance it was 15. One job done, right? I found out my name. Now I want to find out, definitely I want to find out where my comma is. In this, my split character is comma. You can say, why don't you use blank? There is also a blank. What will happen in blank is, then the formula will be a little different. So from the blank, you will have to split not the first D1 minus 1 or whatever it is, but minus 2, because you have to exclude the commas. Right? So searching at comma is simply saying fill up everything before the comma. If you pick a blank, you will have the comma which is extra. You will have to just remove it using the right formula. I mean, it's just a formula. So choose whatever. Really doesn't matter, right? I'll stick with the comma to show it a little different from what I've done. Okay, so let's start. Equal to search. We already know now this, right? So we are going to search in A1. So what does it say? Search, find text within the text. Okay, so first find the text. Which text are you finding? So I'm going to look for comma. So go double quotes. And actually, no, maybe. I don't know how the search of here works. I could also give a substring if I wanted. Let me try it. A comma and a blank. This is what I'm searching for, a comma and a blank. So please go comma and a blank. That's what you're searching for. So I could be searching for a character. I could be searching for a substring, it is called, a part of the string, right? So I've said double quotes, comma and a blank, because I see that's what it is. Okay. Now, where do you want to search it? In A1. So you can type A1 if you like, or you can click on that cell. Oh God, I haven't yet done. Oh, you know what? Oops. Okay, I messed it up. I don't know. I removed my mouse or something. I have no clue. Anyway, so something will mess up. Okay, let it mess up now. Okay, you wait. Let me quickly do it again. Stop recording. Escape and escape. I messed it up, so that's what you do, right? Take your last name, delete. Do you want to delete macro? Yes. Delete and delete. Okay, so A1, record a macro, call it last name. You can use lower or upper. I'm just using a convention called Pascal naming convention here. The first letter of every word is capitalized. Naming convention. They're just conventions in different languages. Okay. Oh, not an F. Of course, that will mess it up for sure. 2 macros cannot have the same shorthand key. 2 macros cannot have the same name, cannot have the same shorthand key. Logical, right? Okay. This macro separates the name in the format, and the format was last name, comma, blank, first name into. Okay. Okay, so right click 1, 2 equal to the length of A1 and press the enter box. Go towards the right, find out the search of. Okay, not yet done. Sarach. Okay, search. So it will do it. What I did, it will just do it. Okay, and now the comma and the blank and the double quotes and the comma and the A1. Okay. And then of course close it and press the enter box. So again, by chance, it has the same position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Yep, it again has the same position. This is just by coincidence, guys. The 7 is again just by coincidence. It's just occurring at the same place. Okay. Now I want to go right by 1. So I found out the length of my name and I found out where the comma and the blank is occurring. Right. Now I have to do, what is this? Ackerman. This is my last name. This is my formula for last name. Right. My E column is last name and my F column is first name. So now to find out last name of this person, remember the last name, I'll have to use the left function because the last name is occurring first. So I have to use the left function. Before you use the right, now I have to use the left function. Okay, so the function is, start your function is equal to, and please follow with me, left, because the first, your last name is occurring first. So I have to extract from the left, and the formula is A1, and in here I'll go comma, and in this one, I'll use D1 minus 1. Right? Because I need it before. So left of A1, comma, D1 minus 1, close, enter. Don't leave it yet. Control C, Control V has to be done. Right? The step we missed, though, I mean, missed means it just did it more. Okay, now again, do a Control C. Go to your paste. Oh, I didn't come back to my home, but that's okay. Go to your paste, go to your paste value, job done, escape. As soon as you do a Control C, Control V, you will notice that the formula has been replaced by the value. And that's what happens when you say Control C, Control V as a value. You're changing the formula into a value. Now go to the right again. Now I'll have to use the right function here, right? So everything looks okay. Source is my last name. Now the formula on this will be the right function, so equal to right, and of course right of A1, and you can take my word for it, you can double check, the formula is C1 minus D1. Right of A1, C1 minus D1, close it and go enter box. And don't leave, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and escape to get out. Right, so I'm just following steps. I've done it, I've made it everything. You can again make A2 the active cell. You can use your home key again, or you can click on it. I'm just going to go home and I'll come back where I was. I don't think this step is required at all. It really doesn't matter. It will just bring the cursor back to where you started. It's not a logic, like it's not disturbing the logic in any way. So even if you forget it, it's not a big deal. Anything that I've missed. Okay, we are done. Stop recording. Right now, I've already messed this Susan person up. I'm going to go here and do a Control L. Go to something else, George. Do a Control L. Working properly? Yeah, right. Where do we have the space? Oh, okay. In the George also. So one of the formulas is wrong. Somewhere I missed a -1 or a +1. Okay. Yeah, somewhere I missed a -1 or a +1. So what's wrong is in the first name. So first name. So C1 minus D1 is not working. C1 minus D1 +1. Yeah. Okay. Shouldn't take my word for it. Yeah. So therefore we have an extra blank. I said take my word for it. No, it wasn't right. Then it was C1 minus D1. So 15 minus 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? 15 minus 7 plus a 1. Okay, it doesn't matter now. I'm not repeating it, but yes, the formula is wrong. The +1 is missing. So again, you could do the same thing. If you wanted, you could add it here. The last name macro could be added here, or you can use your Control L, whatever works, and you can now start doing your job. So anywhere you want, like whatever you want to do.
It might be -1.
See.
I get +1 and I get the comma too.
Oops, okay, so it could be -1. Okay, somebody again followed me and it was wrong. It's a +1 then, a -1 then, maybe. Yeah, there's something wrong in the formula. An extra, we have an extra blank, and definitely we shouldn't. So we should record it again, but doesn't matter. Anyway, now, so now all you have to do is basically kind of click, click, click wherever you want it and so on. But if the work will be done, but still the only thing is that I have to remove my B, C, D, and E before like I start analyzing my data. You know what I mean? Like this was just kind of cleaning data. This is one part of cleaning it. I was just cleaning it. Now, before I leave this, I want to show you that how can you protect your own worksheet? Like you start, remember last week when you started, there was a password. And I said, I mean, you have to know the password. I showed you how to do it. We'll do it today. Now we can always, I mean, once you are done or whatever, really doesn't matter. However you do it, I'm just showing you how you can do it. So if I'll follow the same, yeah, I've protected it before in my code, in my document, but that doesn't really matter. Okay, so how do you protect your worksheet? Go to review. Notice here it says protect sheet, protect workbook, share a workbook. Now, if you wanted to protect the whole workbook, you would choose this. If I want to protect a sheet, I would choose this. It says, okay, what's your password? So give a password that you can remember, okay? Because we will need it again. So you're protecting your worksheet with this password. By default, all cells will become locked. They're already locked. They will also be protected. By default, all cells are locked. And do an OK. So re-enter the password. Give your own password that you can remember. Now, if I try to do anything to this sheet, it won't let me. And that's perfect. That's what protection means, right? So anybody who now wants to work on your worksheet has to know your password. Definitely. That's how you protect your worksheets and workbooks. Okay, it says close the, I don't know. Oh, the security level. Oh, okay. Okay. I want to show you that too. Save this. It's already all saved. Don't close your, don't close the whole thing. Just if I am able to, can I see across here? I see across here. I don't want to close this one, but I could, but I should be able to just close my worksheet. This is creating new worksheets. I don't see a plus or a cross here. This will close the whole workbook. It doesn't say, but oh, it says you can keep Excel open and close it by saying File tab close. Okay. And I'm thinking there should be a button. So Excel is still open, but the sheet is closed. File close closes the worksheet, but doesn't close the Excel workbook. Now, why? Now, I want to show you the security level again. Remember how I had said anything is allowed kind of stuff. Now let's put it back. Okay, so okay, go to your developer again, go to your macro security and say disable, or you can do either with notification or without notification, doesn't matter. With notification will be helpful because it will tell you what's happening. Okay, so now change your settings again. This is what your settings should be always on your Excel, right? So I opened my developer, went to macro security, and I changed it again. And I say an OK. I've changed it, right? Now see what will happen. What will happen is when you open it, it will tell you there is a macro in there. That's what it will do. Okay. So now you can open the workbook again. So, so keep that in mind.
So you had it on what was the phrase again?
What did I do?
You clicked on a phrase, but
oh, the phrase was here. It was developer, macro security, and it said disable all macros with notification. You can say without notification, but without means I don't know what is happening. Why is it not opening up? Okay. That's what I did. And now if I can open Waterfront, this one again. And this has come up to say that there is a potential security concern because there is a macro. That's what has happened by setting it to with notification. So it is coming as with notification. So it's saying there is a macro. Be aware. There is a macro in your Excel workbook. And that's how you want it to be whenever you use Excel. Because macros can be like, we wrote it was just a normal macro, but that's the whole intention. If people start writing macros and pass you those worksheets or workbooks and you just open them, the macros will automatically run. Sometimes they automatically run. You don't even have to do a Control F, Control L, nothing. That's why they were created with the intention of causing harm to your computer, and they run, and then it says, do you want to enable them or do you want to leave them disabled? So it's your choice now. So if you know that your sheet, your workbook is from a source that can be relied upon, go enable. If not, don't enable them. Now, since I know, I'll go enable. But if I say disable, then you can't use them, right? I can't use them. So I'll go back again because I want to use them basically, but we've already used it, so it's not a big deal. So I haven't changed my macro security. I'll do an OK. And now you open them again. So depending upon whether you want to or you don't want to, it's up to you. Of course, I'll say enable. And once they are enabled, now I can use them. right? But this sheet also had a password. Do you remember? So you'll have to, before you start working on this sheet, you will have to go to review again. You will have to say, unprotect my sheet, give in your password, and then you will be ready to go and use it.
Did you make that, like, I guess every student made up
Their own password, yeah. Anything that you can remember, of course, right? There it is, right? So macro security levels have to be set properly. I mean, they should always be set properly, irrespective of whether you're expecting macros or you're not. You should always say disable them, never enable all macros, right? And when it comes, it will always ask you, and then again make a decision whether yes or no. The second thing, why do we protect our worksheets? Two reasons. One, maybe we don't want anybody to, once we've made it, it's final, we don't want it to be changed by our client or anything. So we protect it. And two, definitely the other why we want to protect it, so that somebody intentionally doesn't, make changes to my worksheet to make it too bad or change my formulas or whatever. So it could be either way. It could just be to stop people doing changes, or to just say, oh, this is my ready product. There are no changes after that. Sometimes you do it for your own sake also. You've made changes, you're satisfied with this, you'll say, oh, I hope I don't by mistake make anything wrong in it. So you'll protect it. So that the next time you start doing something in it, it will say that that's what it is, or whatever it is now. So now, there it is. Go to a particular name and start doing whatever you have to do. So let's complete it. So this was last name. So Control L. This was the last name. So we have a little mess here. And this was again my last name. Just kind of complete it, and then then I'll show you how to delete the, I mean, you know how to do it, but this was Control F. If you make a mistake, you use the wrong one, then you have a wrong answer. But you can always come back and redo it. I mean, rerun the macro. That's the best part of it. You ran a macro by mistake, you can again come back. This is last name again. So this extra blank, I apologize, my formula was wrong. Off by one error. For your information, this is called off by one error in computer language, but it's a big penalty. Sometimes you have to pay a big penalty for it. Here it was not so big, but once you have it complete. And of course, as I said, you can always, I didn't add it. I didn't add for a last name, so this is more work, Control L. But once you have this shorthand key, all you have to do is click on it. Right? So you have neatened up your data and so on, and everything is where it should be. This one is still saying proper B1. We still need to change this to a value. You know what I mean? So you can do a Control C, go to paste, do a Control V, and your values are where they are. Do an escape, and now see their values. And now you can just take these till where? Or maybe you even want to remove your first name. I mean, you don't have to keep your combined name if you don't like them. I mean, if you don't want it. But this is all now, you can delete it. You don't need it anymore, so you can just go delete. Oh, Control Z. Okay, you can delete it. Delete sheet columns. And again, now you can start giving headings here. Now it's just saying, oh, this is my first name, this is my last name. So this was your last name. This is your first name. And again, do you want to keep the full name? Really depends on you. If you really don't want it, then you just remove that column also. So you can neaten it up now. And remember, you can always concatenate. You don't have to keep this column at all. You don't have to keep this column at all. You could just delete it. I hope you remember your concat function. Have you done it? You can concatenate your first name and last name together back again. So whatever I didn't need, I removed it. Now I have my neat worksheet. I don't know what the others, that definitely is an address, but I don't know what the others necessarily mean because I'm not so good in my geography of all countries. I don't know what FNG stands for basically. Right? But you could just give them names now, your column names, so that the data represents what it is supposed to represent. So that's a macro. So two important things to remember in macro: relative references and absolute address. That's important, right? And otherwise, it's just what you record is what gets recorded. Make a mess, either re-record it, or if you have a little knowledge of VBA, go to its edit. You can go to the edit and just make changes to it. And it's right here. You can see both your macros are right here. And this is a third way of running your macro, by the way. You can select the cell where you want to run it. You can open the developer, go to the macros, choose it from here and say run. Right? You can say run. So that's the third way of running a macro, the most time consuming way, but you could do that too. So run means just run it. So I don't have anything to run now, but if I kind of, I can do this. It's already done. Everything is done. Oh, my data is gone. I can do it now. But that was the third way of running it. And you can always edit a macro if you want. And editing is just, it will open it up in your, it will open it up. So notice you have both your macros here. All it does is it opens it up, and this is code, and any changes that you do here is going to affect your max. So if you know VBA, make changes. And many programmers will do it. Hardly, I think, people who are polished with VBA will not create macros like the way we do by steps, right? It's too much work. This is much easier. Coding is much easier. But again, it depends whether you are a programmer or not. For a layman, programming is tougher, which is, that's how it is. Like, I don't know VBA, so for me, I don't know what all of these mean. But I can always find out, right? So it's just coding, nothing else. Okay, so that takes care of macros. Now, before I give you a break, I want to do a second topic with you, because once I give you an assignment, you will never let me come back. I don't know how much time. We have 1 week. 10, 15. When do we finish? 11, 12 o'clock, right? Regression is ready. You will find that it is. I don't know what to do. The only possibility is I do regression, and then as always, I let you do your assignment at home. That's the biggest problem. Anyway, whatever. Okay. I'll continue with that. We'll take a break here. 20 minutes break regular. I'll continue with my class, and if time permits, you will finish the assignment in class. Otherwise, you just take it home as you want. Right? I mean, I have to finish my course anyway, so that's what my preference is. So I'll do regression with you. Assuming you told me that you understand how to read tables from SPSS output results and everything. Right? You've done regression analysis and SPS, so you do know about the F test, the T test, and all that. So that would be easy for me. All I have to show you how to do it in Excel, right? So my stats is not as good as it was 25 years back, but I've polished it a little. I had to, but I'm still, I don't know, maybe you may know more than me. So let's take a 20-minute break, come back, and then we'll continue, okay? So this is all done, and it's on the H drive.
Is our assignment going to be a macro assignment?
Yes. So it will be D1 minus C1 minus 1. 10 minus C. I think so, yeah. Wrong formula.
Yeah, plus one did not work, minus
Mhm.
one works.
Minus 1. Because I have to go one more less, yeah.
I've got them both in there.
Would you like a coffee?
Sure, sure. No, no, not me. Thank you. No, okay. I thought you said I could make going for coffee. No, thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm not a coffee fan.
Neither am I.
Yeah, and I don't like this coffee at all.
Oh, no.
I just have an espresso at home and I'll drink that. This one is like, there's no taste to it, right?
Coffee when it's got no taste, you might as well have had brown cream.
Like coffee at the college, and then it's not hot at all. It's like not even warm. I like my coffee
It
like.
depends on when you get it, because
Whoa.
if you're there when there's a big demand, then
Yeah.
the carafes are really fresh and it's like uncomfortable to hold.
Whoa.
So-
Anytime I avoid it. Like it's to me, it's just a waste of money because I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like same with tea. The tea is also not good. Yeah, Victor.
Sorry. I still have the difficulty because last class
Oh, yeah.
I left in the middle, and I still have difficulty to import the HTML. For example, data import from the web. I mean, every source is failed to work.
Except the web. Everything is working now?
Everything is not working.
Oh, not working.
Everything not working. Yeah.
But you do have Windows operating. What do you have? Which operating system?
Windows, and it's 2016.
But it is Windows, right?
Yes, Windows. Yeah, I don't know what's the
What's
reason.
wrong then?
Yeah, it's very weird. So, and I already changed it because normally I will use Chrome as a default.
That's okay. We just need the URL.
Yeah, but I mean, I changed it to.
Yeah, just pick that up. Yeah. It has a different interface, right?
Interface, yeah, the interface is different. So when I import it, it will give me no item selected for
Let's go
preview.
to document.
And table.
So can I take that table and load it? What is happening? Load to?
It will load it to this side.
Yeah, but
instead
then
of
we
this
didn't
side.
change the properties, right? We had to say, yeah, I don't know why your interface is different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it should be same, right?
If it is Windows operating system, it should be the same, right?
Yeah. So, it's the same. So it's
Which Windows do you have?
the latest version.
Oh, these are old.
Really?
Yeah,
But I mean,
it's just a different interface. We'll
yeah.
have-
But anyhow, I should have somewhere to choose the property. But I don't have the
we don't have the option.
yeah, I don't have the option of property. So
Yeah,
it
you
will
just get a table.
Yeah, automatically insert the table on the left side instead of the right side. So
The
because-
properties was all grayed out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but
No clue. Come back and let's see.
for example, if I do the same thing, so,
This is Windows 10, you mean, right?
yeah, yeah. For example, if I do the same thing with the CSV file,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Let's try it. Yeah. Let's do it slowly, just to see if there are other options. Don't do what you have been doing. Let me see, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the CSV file. Okay.
Okay, let's see what comes up. Okay, give me a minute. Let's see. So was our file comma delimited?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's in data type detection. Okay, what is file origin? So it is Western Windows, right? So there is a Vietnam is Windows. So we have the Western Windows, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The last one, yeah.
Or maybe US. I think this doesn't
Is there a
matter
text
much.
file? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when I load it to
No, why do we load? Why don't we just say load and then see what happens?
load the view. Okay.
Let's cancel that. Yeah. I want to see what's like. I want to do things that is different from what you've been doing. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say load to
Load the view. Load to
load,
a new worksheet. Yeah. We will load it to the new worksheet.
and it comes as a table. Oh, because you had table chosen. Okay, let's come back.
Okay.
Let's go back to your previous one. Let's try it again. Let's say load now.
Load again?
No, load. Yeah, I just want to see. Don't change it yet.
I didn't change anything.
Okay, let's try load 2 then, because I want to see there was an option there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm always trying to find where the property, right?
Yeah.
If I can find the property button, I can change something.
Yeah, but
But
wait.
there's no-
Let's go to load 2. What does load 2 do?
Load to do, I will load automatically to the left side instead of the right
Okay,
side.
wait. Now we don't want a table there. That's what the problem is. It's choosing table.
But
What else do we do? Yeah.
Only create a connection, maybe?
No, but I don't know. Doesn't look right. I can do the property, right?
Yeah, that's something we can do. Yeah, so
7 rows loaded where?
yeah.
You know what? Did you Google it to try to find Excel, Windows 10 and Excel 2016 resources?
Interface?
Yeah.
Actually,
If you're saying that, because that's what is different from yours to ours. So you have Windows 10, right? And then you're trying to use Excel 2016. And then you're trying to external data. You have to find out what's going on, right? What you're doing is it shows external data or something, so it has a different feature. See, there is something else which is called. It was saying something with external data.
I mean, for every data type, for example, the access data type it shows me the same interface. So I either to load the tool to a new worksheet, or to load to a new worksheet, or to load the tool, then load it to the left side.
Yeah, so I had I haven't been able to talk to her. I just emailed her and said, I'm coming, I might be staying with you for a week. And she's like, okay, fine. But we haven't actually had a real discussion about like.
I'm a little.
Okay, I will leave you.
Yeah, because I have to look up because
Yeah, I
because
see.
you're using a different operating system. Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah.
So I'll have to read about it. See, it says import data, but it's talking about a Power Query.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
apply,
I mean, for
there
next,
is. It's just
for next week's exam, will you test this kind of knowledge? No.
Oh, I have to do t-tests. I can do this. I have to do pair t-tests and so on. This is only related to you, right? It's
Okay.
not. It's not for the whole class.
Yeah,
I can do it, and I really don't have time. I'm in my last week. I have so much else going
Yeah, I know,
on.
I know. I'm not asking you to help me
But
out.
we have to
Yeah.
find out why it's not
Yeah.
working, right?
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
I can do it in class, but I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I mean, for yeah, I mean, for next week test, do we test anything with importing data? No.
No.
Oh, then
No,
it's okay.
no.
Yeah, then it's okay.
But you have to find a solution anyway, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to find what's going
But
on.
at least they will not affect my
No, it
exam.
won't.
Yeah.
Oh, we are not. We don't have an exam in this course.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is no exam in
So
this
what
course.
should we do next week?
We are doing pair t-test, just a lesson, a normal lesson, and an assignment.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ah, awesome.
yeah. There's no test in this course.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
I think
Great.
this is the only one that doesn't have a test.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anything else?
We've got 2 exams next week, that's it.
That's it. So not all 4 or 5 have.
No, because we had.
Yeah, for the MRP. Yeah.
Wednesday courses, like the MRP and the research.
Ah, okay. Presentation, yeah. For me, there's no exam.
Okay. Awesome.
I did it the first year, but I was told there's no exam, so I don't do it. The exam would be good, but I mean, we'll do something else.
Okay.
No, there won't be an exam.
Thank you, Andrew.
No problem. But we'll have
It's
to
okay.
figure that out, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'll look into it when I have some time.
Yeah, thanks. I understand it. It's a
Yeah,
good man.
it's such a busy period right now, you know. We have to find out. I think it's something to do with Windows 10 and how it is behaving. Oh, what were we supposed to do? Oh, the Excel.
Yeah, that's right, I can't. One other person.
I don't think you're supposed to put that. So from the sound of it, there's a lot of good jobs going on, like 10 jobs. Since I was removed from the system. That's good. Oh, you know. No. Tim said.
Imagine.
Because to be honest, I am everyone's like that way. We're free Oh, is it that one that was? But you don't want to say embarrassing.
You really belong. You were down there. Oh, you're right.
It's like
Okay, let's do regression then, right? Hopefully, since you know the basics and everything, it won't be a big deal. I don't have to explain the concept to you. So what I've done is, again, on the H drive, I gave you a regression.docs. I'll go through it quickly because I don't want to do all the 4 ways with you. But I mean, you could do different ways in Excel. I'll just give you the easiest one. So this is an old one. I didn't even kind of look through it because I didn't want to do it this time. But anyway, what I've shown you that you could always use regression in Excel, and I've shown you 4 ways of doing it. All of us are aware that the regression equation is y is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2x plus an error term, right? That's your linear regression, just between 2 variables, one independent variable and one dependent variable. So y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variables. Your beta i's are the first beta 1 or beta, I've called it beta 1. Okay, so first beta, it should be beta 0 and beta 1. That's how it works. But anyway, so the first one is your intercept term, and then the second one, x with the x, is what is the effect of x on y. Remember, in regression, it's different from correlation. Correlation says how are 2 variables correlated, right? But this one says how is y dependent upon x. So what is the effect of x on y is what it means in regression. Regression is basically finds out, is the model that you're creating, you're saying y is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2x. Is it a good model? Does it work? Is the model kind of what it should be? Right? And where this is the beta 1 is your intercept and b is your slope and so on. So I've shown you 4 ways of doing it. I won't kind of do it using all ways just because, like, as I said, you would use the easiest one. But the first one is doing everything yourself, writing your own formulas and calculating them for A and B, where A and B are your, I've kind of written it as A and B so that it was easy to write, right? So you do it with your own formulas. You create your own table, you put in values, you calculate everything. The second way is what I think I'll do with you today, using Excel regression capability, right? And then of course you get charts, and you should be able to read the charts, and hopefully, as you said, you know about them. Then, and you can always do a plot also. So that's the second way, and that's the one I'll do. The first one is just kind of creating your own formulas yourself. So the formulas are here. You calculate y bar, you calculate x bar, and so on, and plug them in. You have your A and B, and then you have your equation, right? So this is what I'll do in class today, the regression analysis from Excel. The third way is that there are formulas, there are functions that are available. So if you only wanted to find out the intercept, you wanted to find out the slope, you wanted to find out R square, or you wanted to find out the standard error, or you wanted to forecast for future, right? So there are functions that are available in Excel. So if you only wanted to find out the intercept, you don't have to do the whole thing. But these functions are available. They are built-in functions. So again, using the same data, I've kind of used the functions, and here are my values. And if you kind of match them with the regression equation that you get, it will be the same thing. Right? This is the third way of doing it. And the fourth way of doing it again in Excel is that you kind of draw a line. Right? So I hope you know how to kind of just plug it in. So that's the value of your intercept. That's the value of your beta naught or whatever you would like to call it. And then this becomes your regression equation. Right? This becomes your regression equation. You check the value of R square and you have a null hypothesis which says, oh, my R is 0. And if that's accepted, you don't even go further. Right? So I hope you do it in 2 steps. You do regression in 2 steps. You first create your null hypothesis and you say that my R is 0. That means there is no kind of X cannot determine Y, or Y is not dependent upon X. So you start with this, right? And your null hypothesis is R is not equal to 0. And you do an F test here. Now, if this null hypothesis is accepted, then you don't even create a model. Like you're saying R is 0, there is no model at all. But if it is rejected, then you create your model and you say my Y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x. And this is my model. Then you say, oh, this is my model. Right? So I'm going to create a model if this is rejected. If this is accepted, then you don't even go further. But if this is rejected, then you say, okay, this is my model. And now I want to find out, is my model correct? Right? Is my model correct? So you again create a null hypothesis and you say that your beta I is 0. Or here we say beta 1 is 0. We only have one beta. Right? You say beta 1 is 0. And your alternative hypothesis is that beta 1 is not equal to 0. Now you check if this is the case. So what are you trying to say? You're trying to say that Y can be estimated using X, right? So the Y dependent variable can be estimated using X. That's what you're saying in your model. That's what you're saying in your model. So you again say, oh, no, I can't estimate it. B1 equal to 0 means I cannot estimate it. And then the alternative is that B1 is not equal to 0. Then you do a t-test. You do a t-test and accept it or reject it, right? So that's how you do regression. The first thing that you do is you first check whether your R or R square, we call it R, we don't do R square, we say R is 0. If that is accepted, then there is no modeling at all. But if that is rejected, then we create a model. So for a single variate, only one independent variable, that's your model. If it was multiple regression, then your model is this way. You go, okay, so this is my model. B1x1, your first independent variable, B2x2, your second independent, and so on, BIxi. That's the model you form. Now you say, is my model correct? What you're trying to say is that Y is dependent upon, or there is BIs exist. So again you say, oh, there are no BIs. BIs are 0 for all i's. Right? I going from 1 to whatever, n. This is your hypothesis again. But first, before even you create the model, you do your hypothesis that R is equal to 0. And your alternative is R is not equal to 0. Rejected, that means, oh, it is not equal to 0, then you create your model. And in the model, you are saying that's my model. That's my intercept. That's the coefficient for the first independent variable or the second independent variable and so on. So you can just kind of say sum of BI's x's. And now your hypothesis is BI 0. There is no association between them. Right? X does not determine Y. Y is not dependent upon X. That's what you say. And at least for one I. And then you say BI is not equal to 0 for at least one I. Even if you have for one I that it is not equal to 0, you will accept it. Right? So this is multiple regression, and that is univariate, only one variable regression. So there I've only said B0 plus B1x, and here I've said B0 plus B1x1 plus B2x2 plus so on and so forth. So the first job is to, if I'm doing regression analysis using Excel, this is what first I'll see. I look at the F test. If the F test rejects the hypothesis, then I say, oh, this is the model. Then I do my t-test. And in the t-test, if I find at least one BI is not equal to 0, that means it is accepted. Then I say, oh, my model is correct. Once you have the values of B1s, B2s, and everything, you plug it in this formula, and then you can forecast Y for future ones. Right? So that's the whole idea of regression. Regression says what is the relationship between X and Y, where Y is the dependent variable and X is the independent. What is the association? Does X determine Y? Is Y dependent upon X? So correlation is different from regression. Correlation checks for linear relationships. Is there a linear relationship, a positive one or a negative one? Or there is no linear relationship. But we are talking of a relationship, right? Whereas in regression, we are talking about does one affect the other in the sense of an association, right? Dependency. So we say, oh, Y can be determined by X or Y cannot be determined by X. So the hypothesis always says, no, it cannot be. Pi is 0. But the alternative says, no, I can. At least one Pi is not equal to 0, right? So this is what I'm going to show you today, how to use regression analysis in Excel. But what the document that I've given you here is basically showing it to be done in 4 ways. And the first way is just kind of plugging in. So you have the A's and the B's. It was just easy to write it this way. Here is your A and the B's in the first one. And here is the formula. And then you just calculate everything manually yourself. Manually means use like writing your own formulas. The second way, which of course, as I said, any person would like to use this because it gives you everything. You don't have to bother about anything, is the regression analysis in Excel. The third way, if you don't want to do the complete regression analysis, which I don't think why you shouldn't, because first you do the F test and then you go from F to the T, is using these functions: intercept, slope, R square, standard error XY, and forecast. And here are the results. I've shown you the results. If I pick up the data that I've taken, which was actually nothing but just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I just kind of plugged it in. That's the values I'll get. And lastly, you can draw a graph. You can draw a graph. Find the regression line given the graph, and it's just a normal graph. Remember, we drew a trend line in one of the classes. All it is doing is draw a graph of it. Choose linear. You are saying, oh, there is a linear, and then you plot it. So today I'm going to show you how to do it in Excel using regression analysis. So what I've given to you on your H drive again is this regression.xlsx, an Excel file. I think I've placed it on Blackboard also. I think so, right? So the regression, what I've done is I've created 2 sheets for you. One, the linear regression, only one independent variable and one dependent variable. And then I've also given you a multiple regression in which I got some data from a source, which was medical data. And it's saying that heart attack depends upon this, and this variable. So let's start with the linear one first. Linear ones, one independent variable and one dependent variable. So your equation is this. Y is equal to B0 plus B1. X is the model you're trying to create. But before we do that, we'll do a regression analysis. Then we'll look at the F test. If the F test is rejected, if the hypothesis is rejected using the F test, then we will do the modeling. And the model will be accepted if the T test, same probability. I'm taking the probability of 0.5, the 95% confidence interval, and doing it. It could depend on what you're doing, right? So how do you do it in Excel? Right, so that's what we are learning. So what I've done here, if you notice, I've said the repair costs of a car depend upon the miles that have been accommodated on the car. So how many miles have you driven? The repair cost depends upon on it. So this is just some car information. These are just some car statistics or any vehicle statistics. This is car cost versus miles driven. And again, just to make it look a little bigger, right? So that's the data what I've given. So what you see here are the repair costs, right? That's what it is, the repair cost. So notice the repair cost, I mean, you can assume any figure you want, dollars or rupees or whatever. It's just something that I picked up so that I could show to you. And then the miles driven. How many miles did the car already have it on it, right? Now I want to see, can Y be determined by X? So in other words, does X affect Y? That's my question, right? So I'm not talking about relationships. I'm not talking about correlation or anything. I'm talking about regression. So I'm saying, can I estimate Y given X? Okay, that's the difference between correlation and regression. Kind of relationships, but 2 different relationships. So association is more what I'm talking about. So let's see. Let's use Excel and see and create the charts and everything. All you have to do is this: go to data, and if you don't have it, add it like you did when you needed it, right? On everybody has it on the college computers. Okay, so go to your data analysis. Remember, we've done this before. We've used it in our in many classes. So as soon as I show it, maybe you'll recognize it. So we've done descriptive statistics using this. We've also done histograms using this. You can also see there is a correlation you can do. You can do ANOVAs also with it. And if you go down a little, we've done histogram also, and we've done something else also. I forget now. Random number generation. I also showed you random number generation. So if you go down a little, you will notice that there is something called regression. Right? So it says regression. And then you also have t-tests, which will be my next week. Hopefully I can do it next week. Oh, that reminds me. Victor was asking me, there is no exam in this course. Right? There's no final test next week. I don't know. I can ask the coordinator.
No,
but
no.
hey, no. I mean, for me, I mean, that's what my impression was since I've been teaching it. But nowhere it says that. I mean, when I started teaching this, I was told there was no final exam in this course. So therefore, I make so many in-class assignments. Otherwise, the final exam takes away a chunk of percentage. You know.
So do we have one next week, or
we'll have a class and we may have an assignment. Right? You may have an assignment. It will be a general, like you have an assignment today.
So my MRP team has a meeting with the client on Thursday, and we'll not be able to attend the class.
Let me know, email me and let me know. Tell me who the persons are, and then I'll kind of, I mean, I just have to know that you were there. Like if somebody goes for a co-op, the co-op consultant will send me an email saying this person is absent today, and that's how I know.
It's the MRP client, so client wouldn't send an email.
Send an exactly. So
I can send you the email the client has sent.
Yeah, exactly.
Confirming the time.
Exactly. That will work. That will work.
I'm moving out. I'm going back to Toronto, so I can't attend the class on this.
But you know it's a class, right? It's the 14th week of the semester. Like the semester hasn't ended yet. Like getting sick or going for an interview are two different things. Like those are things that you cannot avoid. But when you're moving, you should know that there is a class. It is, I mean, it's not something extra that came up. Talk to me afterwards about this, Shala, then. Yes, Erin?
This has to do with this assignment.
This is the assignment today was on macros.
Oh.
I'm just going ahead and doing regression with you now.
But on my ribbon at the top, I don't have data.
Yeah, so if you don't have data, you have to.
I don't, when I've got data, I don't have
Data analysis? You should, right? How?
then you just have to go to.
Yeah, go to and get it, but that's what you get. So data, you just go to file
and then add in.
and add in,
But
yes.
then when I go to
No, not in add-ins. Where was it? I forget now. Let me see. You go files, you go options, I think. Was it options? No. Yeah, it was in options, I think. Yeah, in options, it was add-ins.
And then you.
And there it is, Excel add-ins. There it is.
okay, and then you go to go.
And then you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how you do it.
Do you already do that once today, or was it already on your site?
Oh, mine is my personal computer, so it's on mine, right? Okay, guys, let's do this, please. Right. Okay, so please go to data. Please go to data analysis, choose regression, and hopefully what you see will not be Greek to you. Okay, now it is saying what's your input Y range. Remember, Y means your dependent variable and X means your independent variable. Now if it was multiple regression, the only difference would be I would choose a bigger range for X. So what is your input Y range? This is your input Y range, your dependent variable. That's your Y. Okay, so assume Y is your, I mean, not assume, that's usually how you call the equation. Y is your dependent variable. So that's your dependent variable, right? It says, what's your independent variable? X range. So I'll choose this one. This is my X range, right? It says, does your data have labels? I didn't include the A3 column. Where are my A1 and A2? Okay, I didn't include my A3 column anyway, so I don't say they have labels. I don't want to make my constant as 0, right? Constant means that intercept. If you want to, like, I mean, if you're doing more analysis and so on, but otherwise you don't want to make it 0. And then the confidence level by default is 95% is what I'm sticking to, but you can always change it to whatever you like. Default value. So if you choose it, you can change it here 96 or 99 or whatever, right? Those are the common ones. So if you don't, that's all it is. It says, what's your output range? So where do you want to see your results? So you can kind of put your results wherever. So we'll put our results here, somewhere here. I mean, you can just give a cell. So A4 to A16 is your dependent variable. B4 to B16 is your independent variable. I don't want to make my constant as 0. My confidence level is 95%. Again, as I said, you can change that if you want. There is no labels. I didn't include the labels. If you wanted to, you could, and then check the labels box, please. The output range is right here. Now it says, what do you want? Do you want to see line fit plots? Do you want to see them? Do you want to see residuals, standard residuals? Residuals is not a bad one to see because residuals tells you the difference between the predicted Y and the actual Y. And then if you want to see your normal probability plots, I wasn't too good at reading these. As I said, it's been a while since I did my statistics, right? Long back. So I wasn't too good at reading it, but when I started, I kind of saw everything. Like I checked everything and I looked what it gave me and so on. And then I confirmed it with somebody who uses SPSS and they say it's the same output that you get in SPSS. So that way, at least it's not new to you, right? So I said, show me the residuals, put it here. And again, I just tried everything and I leave it to you to try it. But if you don't, it's really up to you. Then the line fit plots was not a bad idea. So residual plots, I wasn't so interested in because it's more analysis and so on. But I said, I want to see the residuals, the difference between the two. And you can see that this one was not making a lot of sense to me. Anyway, so I kind of backed out of it. But to start with, you can see everything that you like, and it's not a big deal. Like it's just what you want. What does it give you? Like, but the main thing is, do you know how to read it? Is what is important. What it gives you is 1. And do an OK. That's it, right? Do an OK. And what will happen is that it will, if you kind of see it, and please see that they're all clean and clear for you and for me when they get to me, whatever. And if you kind of go through it, here is what it is. So notice your summary output, the first one, it says multiple R is this, R square. Oh, that's a very small value, isn't it? Did I do it right? Yeah, I think so. Repair cost depends upon miles driven. What about F and significant F? Oh, it's being rejected, isn't it? That's not what I got when I did it. Something seems to be wrong here. Miles driven is my independent variable and repair cost is my dependent variable. That doesn't look right at all. Notice how it's giving a small, it's rejecting it right away. Look at the significance value of F, more than 0.05. Okay, so what did I do wrong? Definitely I did something wrong. But what did I do wrong? Either my values are repaired. No. Sorry? Sorry, Victor, I can't get you. What are you saying? But this should not be rejected, according to at least what I remember. But it is being rejected. Let's try this. You're all getting the same result, right? Of course. The data, I have given you the data. Unless I have messed up the data. I don't think so. They look right. Miles driven. I'll show you what I did. Like I have it. Yeah, something seems to be okay. Give me a minute, because I remember that I did it and it was fine in the sense when I say fine, it was logical is what I mean. Oh, come on, because give me 1 minute. Oh, bless you. That they don't seem to be right at all. They don't look right. So I had I picked up the data from a yeah, that's what I remember. Unless I messed it up. No, because this is what I kind of picked up the data from, and when I ran it, I got the same results, and everything was same. What am I doing wrong? So this is an SPSS output for your information. I got somebody to do SPSS for me, and this is the same results I was getting. What have I done wrong? Miles driven and repair costs. I couldn't have copied the wrong values, could I? Did I? Because that's really silly if the values are wrong, but doesn't seem like it is wrong. Let's miles driven is coming. Yeah, what's wrong then? Because I definitely got this result and I said, oh, it's the same as SPSS, so you have already seen it. Dependent variable is the repair cost. Repair cost is 1200, 150, 650, 200. Yeah, those are right. Okay, so did I mess up my regression analysis then? That's the only thing that can be messed up. That is strange. Okay, let's try it once more. This has already been tried and done, so can't be. Okay. Home, clear all formats. Oh no, clear all formats. That is really strange. Go to data analysis, go to regression. Okay. Input Y range is A4 to A16, and that's right. What have I done wrong? B4 to B16. It doesn't have labels. No, it doesn't.
That constant is 0.
The constant is 0, the intercept. If you want your intercept to be 0. I didn't choose this, but that doesn't matter, right? By default, it also gives 95%. Has that changed? No. What is wrong, guys? Do you see anything that's wrong? I don't see anything that's wrong. Repair cost is my variable A4 to A16. That is strange. Yeah, it's still coming wrong. What the? I can't believe this. As soon as I saw the R, I said, oh, something is wrong here. Has to be something. Have I messed up a single value? Oh, seems like maybe this one. I must have. The data must be wrong. You see what I mean? You can't. Yeah, I see one wrong value for sure. Oh, that couldn't have caused such a big thing. Skewed data, right? You know about skewed data, but did that create a problem? Yeah, it should be 38,000. They were all in thousands. Do you think that causes such a big issue? I doubt, but.
Because when you draw a scatter plot, in case there is one point that there is one data
that is skewed,
that will make the whole your
analysis wrong. The curve that you make, yeah, but that's skewed, you know.
If you have a look at the scatter plot, this point will be
completely out of place. Yeah, yeah, and that's one point. The skewed data is causing a problem. Definitely, it is causing a problem because this is rejected. The value of f is it's rejecting it. Yeah, so there was one data which was wrong for sure. It was wrong. Come on. Now do it. There was one data that was wrong. So do it now and we should have the same results.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. See how one piece of data, and that was a big skewed data. It was 380,000. So there was something wrong in this value, just one data, but that's what caused it. Okay, now hopefully, since Harlina said yes, it works. So let's go back. We'll stay with what we had and do an okay. And yeah, there it is. So looking at the value of R square, you're saying that if you kind of look at it and the adjusted R square also, the 90.912, you can say that 91.2% times Y can be estimated using X. That's how you read the R value, right? You're saying, you see the value of 0.912 here? You're saying I can say with authority that 91.2% of times Y can be estimated using X. That's what R square says. So I'll start with this hypothesis. R is equal to 0 is what I do. So when I say R is equal to 0, look at your significance F. You notice it's a minus e to the power of minus 0.7. So that means it's 0.0000 whatever. So definitely your hypothesis is rejected because your F value is less than 0.5. So read the first table first, your ANOVA table. Regression is your independent variable. Degrees of freedom is 1. Residual, what remains like is 11 because the total degrees of 12. Then you have sum of squares and mean sum of squares and so on. Hopefully your stats is what it should do. You're better than me. But for me, these values are important. So I have an F value of 114 and the significance F is 0.6 zeros and a 3 then. E to the power of minus 0.7. Take your 0.7 places forward. That's what it means. E to the power of minus 7. E minus 0.7. So your value is 0.000003 whatever. And definitely that value is less than 0.5. So you reject the hypothesis. When you reject it, that means you're saying R is not equal to 0. So now it also gives you the second test, the t-test. Notice the value of intercept. It is a negative value. All it means is it's cutting it on the negative side, but you take the modulus of it. And then the x variable one is your x variable, the independent. And again, notice the values of t stats and notice the p values. Both p values are less than 0.05. And so you accept the hypothesis. So you are saying that my model y is equal to beta naught. So what's your model now? You're saying my model. So now put in values. Put in the values of your beta naught and your x. So you're saying this model y is equal to minus 298.082 plus 0.0173 is the correct model. Plus, of course, you will have error, but that's your x. I'll just write it x. It's not a multiplication. That model is a good model. You're saying I can estimate x, I can estimate y using x. That's how you substitute it, right? So the intercept becomes your constant term, beta naught, plus your coefficient. Your coefficient becomes the coefficient b1. So this is beta naught, this is beta 1. I've just said y and x there. And of course, there will always be an error term, which is your residual. So if you go down a little, you will notice that there is another table, and there it is. That's your residual output. What is it saying? It's saying for these 13 values, that's my predicted y. What's your predicted y? By substituting the values of x in that formula. That's your predicted y. And what is your actual y? Your actual y was given in the data. The subtraction of the two becomes your residual. Right? That's your error kind of. So you're saying these are the observations from 1 to 13 for your 13. This is what was predicted using that formula. Right? The formula the model that we created. Then you have your actual y's from your raw data. Subtract the two, that will give you your residuals. Right? That's what will give you your residuals. So I wanted to show you this because this is the residual, the error term. Right? This is your error term. So if you know to read more, sure, but at least this is quite clean and clear and quite logical. So this was just to show you that this is what it creates. Right? Notice how it creates these line plots for you. And again, I am hoping, as I said, hopefully you guys are better than I am. So notice how closely the predicted y and the actual y are kind of on the same linear line. So you can say that there is a linear regression between the two. My predicted y's are very close to the y's you've given. The model fits well, and this is the model equation. Now to forecast it. Forecast means what? Oh, if I have 50,000 miles on my car, what will be my repair cost? Just substitute the value of x as 50,000 and you will get your y. So if it is 100,000, what will happen? If it is 200,000, what will happen? And so on and so on. Right? So once you have the equation, then you can forecast or you can predict what the value of y will be. And if you notice the graph, notice how the predicted and the y are so like they're almost the same if you kind of look at it. Couple of values at a little off place, but 99%. So with 95% confidence level, you can say that y can be estimated using this model. This is what regression means. So you can estimate y given x. So if x is say 500,000 miles, y will be substitute, and that will be my repair cost. That's what regression means. Right? So Excel gives you the same charts, the same tables that you see in SPSS. I got somebody to send me the SPSS output. I told you I have a friend back in India. I told her to do it for me and send me the SPSS output. And we have the same answers, and the best part was the outputs are same. So I thought, oh good, my students do SPSS, so they know about it, right? I don't have to explain a lot of stats to them. But it's just a model. It's just that's the logic of regression analysis. You start with H naught, null hypothesis and alternative, and then you first do the R test, right? First you check if that's only go to the model if that's being rejected. So you say R is equal to 0. Oh, there is no relationship. There is no association at all. That's what your hypothesis is. And then you look at F, and if F is rejected, that means your alternative hypothesis not equal to 0. Then you do your t-test. Yes,
Okay, so for the graph of the line fit,
yeah.
Shouldn't there be only one point? Just one value?
No, the line fit says for y equal. Remember there were 13 values.
Yes.
13 y's and 13 predicted y's is what it is showing.
Okay.
That's what it is showing, right? It's trying to show you this is what you had your original Y's, this is what you gave me, and this is what I've predicted.
Okay.
So the comparison tells me it's good,
Okay.
right? So as I said, I haven't used stats for a while, but this was kind of not so difficult to understand, right? Because it's an F test, this gets rejected, so I make my model, and in the model I again compare it and I accept it. So now if you want to predict Y, all you do is you substitute. And how did I form the equation? You know how to form the equation. You are given the intercept here. You are given the X variable here. Just plug it in. Plug it in this formula. Replace beta naught by the intercept term and replace beta 1 by the 0.707133. And there it is. So there will be definitely some error, right? That's what happens. Predicted values and actual values do have some errors, and it will always be. You cannot never say my analysis is 100% correct. You can never. Therefore, you say with 90% confidence level. That's why you say there is only a chance of on both sides on the tail ends of your normal distribution. There's only a chance of 5% that points will lie outside these 95% of confidence, right? So that's how you do regression analysis. Simple. It's not any different from your SPSS. I don't know how you do it there, but the output is not any different is what I'm trying to say. So if your company doesn't have SPSS, you definitely have this, right? Now the second one, the multiple regression, is not very different again. Now in multiple regression, what I've given you is I've given you some medical data in which it says the number of heart attacks depend upon 3 variables: the blood pressure, the low density lipoprotein, and the indicator of sugar level. Again, I just have to find, I'm not good at it. So I had to ask yes. And logically, like common sense tells me, yes, these 3 independent variables are important when you have heart attacks: your lipoproteins, your blood pressures, and your indicators of sugar level. Of this, one didn't work well. And I kind of asked somebody who works in the medical field, I said, why is this association not coming right? He says, sometimes the data may not be right. Who knows, right? Your analysis is based on data. If your data is not right, then we can't say anything. So I'll show you what the result of this will be. So again, now my model is this. I'm saying that I have 3 independent variables. I have 3 independent variables, and those independent variables are BP, LDL as it is called, and the third one had a name HPCA1 something. They're called sugar levels, right? So this is now my model. I'm saying I just call it BP for my first variable. Okay. So that's, okay, let me just write it as X1. This is what I'm trying to fit now. But of course, before I fit my model, I first check, is there an association? So again, R square will be calculated, the F significant value will be seen, and if it is rejected, then I say, oh, this is my model. Intercept term, and these are the coefficients of X1, X2, and X3. I'm just calling them X1, X2, X3 in the same manner that I've written them, right? That's what they are. And I'm saying there is an association that Y is determined by all these 3 factors. Is it or is it not? I don't know. So my null hypothesis is no, it is not. All my BIs are 0. All my BIs are 0. B1 is 0, B2 is 0, B3 is 0. Right? That's what I'm saying. That's my null hypothesis. But alternatively, I say that at least 1. So this is at least 1, not all 3. At least one of this BI is not equal to 0. If I find one BI which is not equal to 0, I have to say my model is a good model. So even with one BI, right? So now what do? Same concept, right? So here is your data. The data has been given. I took it from somebody who does a little research in whatever. So I'm hoping she has the right one. But anyway, so same thing, go to data analysis. And again, go to regression. And here, all you have to do is, it still says, and it is, or it's right here also, it says it is from A4 to A16, but I think A16 may not be right. It's from A4 to A62. Yeah, because I said I took it from some, A4 to A62 is what we had. You can always select it. So I'm saying that my input data, my dependent variable again, is from, come on, can you? And my output will change now, right? So you'll say, oh, well, how do I say that I have 3 variables? I don't know how you say it in SPSS. Here you just select the whole thing. You kind of select the whole thing. It just assumes X1, X2, and X3. That's what it does. So you just select the whole thing. So I'm going from B4 to D62. So every column becomes one independent variable. Right? This is what you do. SPSS is different. Maybe it asks you differently. I don't know. So what did I say? I said my input Y range is A4 to A62. And again, I'll use my F4 keys here to make it absolute. Right? F4 key puts a dollar sign to make it absolute. And then I say that my range, what did I get the whole thing as a F4? That's really strange. I didn't want to type it myself, so I was kind of avoiding it. And usually if you just press the A4 key, it's really strange. Anyway, so that's my Y range, A4 to A62 for your information if you're using my table. And then again, if you were including labels, it would be labels and everything else remains the same. But the X range, you give the whole range together.
And change the output range.
And change the output range too, definitely, right? So let's go here. Let's give it some space where we can put it. So look for whatever. I mean, on the right or left, wherever. Okay, I can put it here. Right? Anywhere on the, I mean, wherever you can put it. Wherever there is space. And again, it's up to you. The residuals, you have to know how to read them. But definitely the residuals I would definitely like to see. So I said I want to see the residual. I also wanted to see the line fit plots. So these plots were not something I couldn't read. So I kind of left them alone. But this makes sense to me, right? Residual makes sense to me. The line fit plots make sense to me. So you can figure out those. So those were easy to read. So, and just go, okay. And you will have the same kind of table, same concept. And let's read it again, right? Let's read it again. So I have an R square of 0.75.5, and this means with 75%, I can say that there is an association. It has gone down, it's 75%, but let's see if the first hypothesis is accepted or rejected. So R is equal to 0. If you again notice, significance F is really low, definitely is less than 0.05. So my hypothesis is rejected and the alternative is accepted, right? So R is not equal to 0 is accepted. So if that is accepted, now I will go and see, oh, does this association model work for it? So that's your step number 1, which you read from the F table, as you know. And then you come to the second one. So your F value is 56.6 whatever, and your significance value definitely is 0.00000. So it's less than 0.05. Yes.
I get a message that says there's a problem with this formula.
The formula in regression, because of the table is not the right one. A4 to A62, A4 to A62, 95% output change. This range, you want to put it, just give 1 cell. Just pick up anything. Okay, just come. Okay, and then you go set. Okay, right? So I go to the alternative now and I start looking at this. So notice, what do I have? I have an intercept, I have an X variable, a Y, and a 0.39. This looks to be the most strongest one, the third one, sugar levels. But now look at the T statistics. The T statistics are 2.47 point whatever, and look at the P value. Now in one of these, if you notice, the second one, variable 2, has a value higher than 0.05, right? So I think that's what kind. So this is less than 0.05. This is okay. This is less than 0.05. This is okay. But there is one which is saying, oh, I'm more. And there is where this says at least 1 beta I is not equal to 0. So though, and this kind of confused me, I said, how come variable 2 is not contributing to it? And variable 2 was your LDL. And I know that it does contribute to heart attacks. So I had to go back and ask somebody, and they said, maybe it's something with the data, right? I mean, it's data that's all based on, yes, it does affect. So it does affect it. I mean, it is an association factor, but it's just not coming up. Doesn't matter. A little change always helps, right? It's always good to have something better than listening to me. It is, right? So again, the T statistics, look at the P values. So since R is not equal to 0 is my first step, now is my model good? Now, if I look at the P values, I seem to find one that's not satisfying it, but as long as 1 beta is not equal to 0, I'm good. So all I'll do is I'll plug in these values of intercept 1 whatever into there. So if you kind of plug them in, you just have to plug them in now. So you are saying my y is equal to minus, I just write small ones, right? Plus. So that's your intercept, 0.0089. They are small factors if you look at it, but I mean that's not the only 3 factors. Then your second one is 0.0003. And then your third one is 0.3959. So I've just picked up a couple, right? I'm because it was too much to kind of move around. There. And of course you will have your error time. So that's your model. And since you have rejected your hypothesis, you have accepted your model. Right? Yes.
Should you not include this variable number 2 just because it's not significant in the equation?
That's what I have to put it in the equation because I've accepted the model. Right? You can say I won't include this because that's what I thought. I said I should take that out. It says if that's the model you start with, then you have to stick to it. Even if 1 bi is not equal to 0, you have to stick to it. Therefore, you see the R square was not very high, right? It was not. So that's the model. So I had to ask a statistics person, and I said, what do I do? Do I remove it? And I say I don't need it. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't contribute. No, the model you started with that model. So if that's the model, you have to stick to the model. If the hypothesis was rejected, you have to stick to the model. So you can say I will remove it. So the other reason why am I getting something that is not true according to common man knowledge could be the data.
Are we adding standard error at the end of the formula?
Yes, we just say plus error. We just say plus error. But if you predicted that, I won't be able to put anything for the error, like when I predict something. So now if I say how many, it's very stupid, but if I want to find out these are the values of, I mean, it's kind of prediction of number of heart attacks is a silly thing to say, but you can say how many heart attacks will a person have if these are the values of x1, y1, and x1, x2, and x3. So again, same kind of data. And in this one, as I said, I didn't draw all of them because I don't understand all of them. But residual output, again, is the same concept. What is residual output? Residual output means the same thing. For all your observations, this is what the y was predicted, and then you have a y in your table, right? And then the residual is the difference between the residual means what is left over, your errors. So that's the residual. And I had asked for the line plots, and you should see the line plots. Okay, there they are. Right, there are the line plots. So if you kind of just, and of course they're too small, but if they look okay in the sense they're all together, but I mean they're consistent. But there's no, I don't see a kind of a linear relationship, except here we notice a little bit of linear. But those are not even linear. But it's saying that's the predicted y and that's my actual y. And notice it's not as good as the first one, because there it was 91.2% of R square. Here it was 75%, and that's how it looks, roughly to a layman, right? But of course, people who do analysis are much better. They don't think like they don't guess things; they do it. So analysis will go further. But at this point of time, the aim was that I show you how regression analysis is done in Excel, so that you can make a connection with SPSS. And if you notice under data analysis, there are a few other things. There was correlation, there was ANOVA tables, and so on, right? But I can look into it if you like. I only have one more class. I mean, I never looked into it because they're not in my course outlines, but it's talking about something paired t-test is talking about. So I'll now look into the t-tests. Again, hoping you've done something in your SPSS with paired t-tests and so on of these. But this is regression analysis. Easy, right? You didn't have to do anything. So though I have given you that Word document, I'm sure, I mean, nobody kind of takes it's too much work to do it this way. But here you at least get a standard error term. See, you can get a standard error term if you want. With your own, there is a function called standard error, and you can use that. And you can get it. You can add that here. I don't know if you can, maybe you guys can tell me, because you said you've done it in SPSS. Is there, I saw there was, but I'm not very sure. Maybe I'll have to ask somebody because I'm not that good at it. Somewhere here you should see the error term somewhere, shouldn't you? The standard error term or something. I can create one for the document I've given you and make connections, but you could have an error. It should be somewhere here, the error term that you add to it.
Is it up in the regression statistics of the standard error?
Oh, the standard error, this one? Yeah, could be. Yeah, you're right. That's called a standard error. So B0 plus B1X plus that standard error. But I'm not very sure. Like I'm not. But now that I see my document, and in the document it does give you a formula that you can find the standard error. And I'm thinking that is what the standard error would be in the, though the equation is always involving the intercept and the y term. We never write necessarily a y r term. So here it is. So this doesn't look to be too good a model to, I mean, 0.48, but that's okay. So I've given you this document if you want to go through it, but I'm not going to go through all the 4 just because, as I said, I mean, the aim was to show you how to do regression analysis in Excel. Okay. So that's about regression analysis. And again, if you have more questions, maybe you should ask your SPSS teacher how to read it. It's the same chart, right? So from statistics point of view, maybe you could knock some other doors. But I think I know what I'm doing, and I hope I've given you the knowledge that I kind of remembered and learned from my friend. Okay. Now, lastly, last job for today. The job is on Blackboard. And oh God, they've put my fall courses. Now, where did you go? Oh, there you are. Fall courses are already up. Under assignments, summer 2017, you will find your in class 6 in a minute. Okay, so what I've given you is an Excel file and a document file, and all you have to do is, or what you have to do is follow the instructions in your document file, right? So it says you are provided with the starting Excel file, and I've given you the Excel file. Create a macro that sorts the top scores by last name and in there by first name. So I want you to do some sorting, right? Using a macro, not without a macro. So I'll run the macro to see sorting. So what you have to do, you have to kind of sort it on last name and inside last name in first name. So sorting on 2 fields, a major key and a minor key, right? It then uses conditional formatting to format, okay, remove the S please, to format all goals greater than 30 by giving those cells a background color. So then I want you to do conditional formatting. Anything that's greater than 30. The macro should have a shorthand key and should have a button association on the quick access toolbar. I've taught you both things, right? Once you are done, bring the data back to its start state, because I want to come and check it that your macro is working, so that I can run the macro to ensure it runs. I would recommend copying the data before you start into another location and replacing the finished product with this for me to check it runs. So I've given you data, copy it in another place because you have to get it back to test that the macro runs. So I have data. It's just about some scorers. You can look at it. It's not a no. Where are you here? So here, that's what you have, right? That's the data. So before you even start working on it, I would just put it somewhere else also. Just copy the data somewhere else so that you can bring it back and run the macro for you. Okay, so the job is this. The job is to sort this table. Let's not call it table. To sort this data by last name and inside last name by first name. There are 3 Johnsons, so you will see that there are 2 boys also, right? So you'll see that it is sorted. And inside last name by first name. So Johnsons come together, and inside Johnsons, they are again sorted by first name. And here are the goals scored. Everything should change. Keep in mind, sorting doesn't mean only changing the names and not changing the goals. Everything needs to be changed together. So it's not a table. In table, the sorting was much easier. It's just a range. And then I want you to do conditional formatting. Any score that is above 30, which I see there is a 40 here, there is a 38, I just give it any background color to say that I've done conditional formatting. So you recall your macro. Now the first thing to understand is this will be an absolute address. Will it be an absolute way of recording macro, or will it be a relative reference way of doing the macro? Am I kind of using my keyboard navigation to go do stuff, or am I just doing a job, right? So that's your first step. You think, do I need to use cell references or do I not need to use cell references? Then do sorting as you sort, like use your sort, like you sort. Do your conditional formatting like you do it. You're just recording it for me. Once you've done it, bring it back to normal and it should have a shorthand key and it should have an association in that where I put my filter also. I've shown you how to do it. I come, I double check, oh it works, and you get your marks. Right? So this is your job. I know it's 11:30. It can be done in 20 minutes, believe me, but that's okay. You will finish it by tonight and submit it on Blackboard. So you will be giving me a macro enabled file this time. Remember, before you record a macro, you have to save it as an XLSM, do your macro and everything. But I will mark it in class notes. Right? I won't mark it myself. I mean, it takes me, with you, it will take me 1 minute each. When I do it myself, it will take me a couple of hours. I don't want to. So you will only macro. But it has to come in by midnight. So when I come and mark it next week with you, you will open it from Blackboard and do it. Okay, so that tells me it was submitted on Blackboard. So you will show me the Blackboard file, not what you did after that. Doesn't matter to me. Or you have it on your, you use your college computer, so you'll have it on Blackboard for sure. So you'll download it and show it. So that's your job for today. That's your assignment for today. Straightforward. Nothing saying, oh, this is not a good title. Given up, I've given up, right? You do this. This is all logical. So create a macro, copy it, satisfy yourself it runs, then give me the state, and I'll run the macro, and I'll give you the marks. That's simple. This has to come in by midnight. So you can start working on it, and you can show it to me if you want right now before I leave. And any questions, I'll answer any questions if you're stuck, okay? But I'm not telling you the solution, of course. So since this is your first macro, you may mess up. It may take time, but it's not more than a 20-minute job. So I'll do it while you also do it, and then I'll show you how it works, okay? I don't know what I have this filter for. Oh, the first name of the other one. Okay. Right, so you can start working on it, and if you're done, sure, show it to me today. Right now, if you're not done, I'll see it next week. But the file comes from Blackboard. So even if you work after this, I'm not accepting that. Anything that comes by midnight, I'll accept that. That's the one I want you to show me. So copy your data somewhere else because you'll have to get it back.
Reading the instructions,
Mm-hmm.
create a macro that sorts the top scores by last name and in there by
First name. Yeah.
In there.
And that means the last name is your major key and first name is your minor key. So all Johnsons together, and inside Johnsons, they are by first name. Right? So major key and minor key. So copy your data somewhere and then start working on it. Or you can put it in another sheet, whatever you like. You can make a copy of the sheet because you have to have the original data every time to see that the macro works. And then do your sorting. So think about what do I need and then go from there, okay? So try a few things how to sort before you start recording your macro. If you've forgotten how to sort your macro, or how to sort your list. So try your sort first, okay? So last name first, and then inside last name, a first name. Mm-hmm.
The purpose of the exercise
Is to create a macro.
Yeah, right. So
Yes.
That's all separated. How come they aren't together, and then it's our job to separate them?
What are you separating? You're not separating anything here. You're just sorting it. This macro is not separating anything.
Oh.
It's not what we did in class. It's a different question altogether, right?
Sorry.
That's okay. This should be the end result. So here is a so a macro to sort it and then to highlight the cells. That should be your end result. So when I come and, I mean, I have used a yellow, it's not the colors or whatever, but this is what it is happening. So last name and inside last name sorted by first name. Right? So notice how B's and B's come together, and inside Johnson's E, S, and T are again in sequence. E, S, and T, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, S, P, Q, R, S, T. This is what the sorting is, right? This is what I want the end result. Not by doing it, by creating the macro to do it, and then I come and run that macro and it works. Right? So you write a macro to do this, and then get your data back to what I've given you. And then I come and run the macro, and it does this one. This is what I want.
How do
I do what?
you get the data back?
Oh, you make a copy somewhere else, and then just copy
Right,
it.
okay.
Make another sheet so that you have the data. So just put it back. Right? So the names, notice how the names are in order. Last name and inside last name as first name. And then notice how I have highlighted all cells greater than 30. I think it said, right? Greater than 30. That's all I wanted. But a macro to do it. So two operations, sorting and conditional formatting. So first practice it if you've forgotten your sorting and conditional formatting. Practice it first, how to do it. Then record. Right?
What is this for using functions? Right?
Sorry?
For sorting using functions.
For what? For sorting? You have a sort there, right?
I know that's the same.
Yeah, by using that.
You got, right?
Yeah. That's how you do it. So you will use the sort functionality here that you have on here. Notice you have this sort filter and then conditional formatting using your conditional formatting. So you have to do two jobs, but you have to record them for me. That's all. So the first thing, do I need relative references or no? So do I check that or don't I? Two, how do I sort? And then start recording. Just sort and conditional format and stop recording, and it is there. It's there for you. So make a copy of your data, make it in a sheet if you want, put it somewhere here if you want, wherever. Save your macro in a workbook, and then when I come, I can do it on the other sheet. You can do that too, right? Maybe that would be much easier. Make a copy of this sheet. So make a copy. Let's create a copy, right? And then you can call it copy if you want or rename it to whatever. So I made a copy of my sheet. Without removing what I didn't want, but anyway. And the copy will exactly look the same, of course. Then you don't have to copy it here and not make it untidy. So make a copy of the worksheet and then create your macro in one. And for the second one, I'll come and run it in the second one. I can run it in the second one. Keep in mind, because you're saying save it in my workbook. So I just made two copies. Of course, before you did all this, before you sorted it. Make a copy before you sorted it. So work on one, and then when I come, I'll work on the second. So that way you don't have to do a lot. But that's the end result I want. When I run the macro, not you. I'm not looking at your results. I want to run the macro. So if it exactly does this, then you have your marks. If it doesn't, then you don't have a mark. Then it's a 0. So it's either 0 or it's full marks. Right? It's as if macro works or macro doesn't work. Like you can't say, oh, the names are sorting, but no, that's what I want. Macro works or macro doesn't work. It's as simple as that. So you can't lose a mark or you can't gain a mark. If it works perfectly fine, you have it. So try your sorting and your conditional formatting a couple of times if you've forgotten, and then record your network. Is that? Yeah. No, not of the whole thing. Only of the goals. Yeah, only of the goals. Yeah, and then the conditional format. Yeah, that's it. You're recording a macro, right? All you're doing is recording your actions. And what are your actions? Sort my table and highlight the cells. That's it. That's it. That's what I said. It can be done very quickly, right?
And then
And you create a shorthand key for the macro and also create it as a tool in the access toolbar for me.
oh, how we do.
Yeah, yeah. There it is. I have one of the one. So that I can run it both ways. And then I come and therefore I've made a copy of it. Make a copy of your worksheet before you start recording your macro. So when I come and use your macro on the second sheet and I know it works. Shorthand is when you create the macro control.
How we did control.
Yeah, control.
And then the other part is stuff up here.
Yep, the toolbar, the quick access. So you're on your own now, right? When you're done, call me and I'll run it. So create a copy of your worksheet before you start working. Yeah, you have to save it as an macro enabled file. Keep that in mind. How to save it? Okay, save as. And then wherever you want to save it, do it. Then choose one here. Macro enabled. Yeah, don't forget to save it as a macro enabled workbook before you start recording your macro, guys. So disable your macros and everything, save it, and then when I come, only then will I be able to run it, right? So I don't want to do all that job. So I'm saying you do it and I'll mark it. The first assignment that's you're going to show me to mark.
Save it as a macro enabled.
Yeah. So after you download it from Blackboard, set your security levels properly and everything, and then go ahead and do it. So go to your level, change your macro security to enable all macros, and then save it as a macro enabled file, and then start macros. Only then will it work, right? But before that, of course, try doing things yourself. How do I sort? Have I forgotten my sort? How do I do condition formatting? Satisfy yourself that you do it and then do it. Yes, Yamini? Done? So have you kind of this is the one I tried on. So that's your. And what about the short and deep? Short and deep control. You can do a control Z. Here and it's changing up here. So that's your copy. Oh, you have more than copies? Oh. So when you made a copy, you made a copy of the workbook, did you? Yeah, so I'm interested. Remember you saved the workbook in a, you saved the macro in the workbook. So when I said copy your sheet. Then you do copy your workbook. Right? Do that? Yeah. So the hand seemed to work with the shorthand, not with the macro and not the saved. The hand should also not. That's also showing, right? So maybe the shorthand keys keep working, but I mean the toolbars keep working, and that's really strange. So you created a copy of the workbook instead of the worksheet. Right? Because you're saving a macro in the workbook. You need to save as. Let's look at the macros in that table. Let's go to developer and look at macros. Let's open the macros.
Maybe the shorthand is not here. If you got shorthand at the beginning, oh, yeah. That's the format. Yeah, it's not as if you will start working together. Yeah. Oh, yes, that's why the control. That makes sense. So somewhere in the code, so I don't know. You send me the one, but first make the handle, right? I like, you can, one thing works and one thing doesn't work. And then whatever you've done, you just send me the Excel. Yeah. And then when that's why I said make a copy in your workbook for me, right? Yeah. Guys, make a copy of your worksheet in the workbook, please. Otherwise, how will I mark it next time? You know what I mean? Because once you are done, then you can revert back by doing Control Z's. That's why you make a copy. So in the same workbook that I have given you, create a copy of this worksheet for my use next week, so that I can go there, and then save your macro in the workbook. That means I can use it in all my worksheets, right? Then I'll be able to do it. Yes, Kinjal?
Once we run the macro, can we like delete it or something like that?
We can't undo it, no.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Therefore, I need a copy, right? That's why I need a copy. So make a copy, make your macro, save it in the workbook, and next time I'll go to the copy and I'll run your macro, and it should work, right? So not a copy of the workbook, a copy of the sheet in the same workbook. Because when you save your macro, you say I want to save it in my workbook, so I can use it in any of the tabs in my workbook. So and make a couple of copies if you're kind of like, just make a couple of copies of this worksheet. Then you can test it too yourself. Exactly. Macro enabled workbook. Type, yeah. There is a type. So make a couple of copies, one for yourself, one for me, one for extra. Make a couple of copies of worksheets. Then save it as a macro enabled workbook. Then record your macro. Test it yourself on the copy that you made for yourself. And next week I'll test it on the third one. You have to test that it works, both by hand and also, both by your access toolbar and by your control key, both should work. Because I am going to test. So make a few copies, okay? That way there is nothing. So I have given you this worksheet. Make 4 copies or 5 copies. Keep it. Because in one I'll test your toolbar, in one I'll test your control key, and you also want to test it if you want to. So make it for yourself. Keep 2 copies for me. The rest is up to you. I will test both the things. I'll test your access toolbar also, and I'll also test your shorthand key.
But how are you going to know where shorthand is?
How will I know what?
Yeah, you know where controls are. Because
I'll ask you. I can go to the macro and I can open it up and it will show me in the copy. But I'll ask you. Right? So take this Excel worksheet and make 5 copies of it. 2 I'll test, 2 you will test. I need 2. I don't know what you want to do with the rest. Make 10 copies. It's up to you. Keep 2 for me. 1 to access toolbar I'll test, and 1 the control key. I want to check it twice. Because you're creating 1 for me in that toolbar, you're creating a shorthand in the toolbar for me, and you're also creating a control shorthand.
So that means you need 2 originals.
I need 2 originals. Rest whatever you want.
Yeah, the 2 originals and 1 to macro that we actually.
Yeah, but I'm not even looking at that. I'm going to kind of test it myself. And if you want to test it yourself, put another copies. So therefore I said 5. 2 for you, 2 for me, 1 extra. Don't you want to test it before you give it to me? Of course you want to test it before you give it to me. And then submit it on Blackboard, right? Don't touch the copies. And I'll test it next week. So when I come next week and you are doing an assignment or whatever, I have to pick up time next week. I'll say, okay, open up your workbook. You open it up, I'll come and I'll use my 2 sheets and I'll run the macro and I'll see if the result is there. And don't miss out on don't forget the shorthand key, don't forget your control key, don't forget any of these. There are 2 parts. I have to run the macro 2 ways. Associate with both of them. My only concern is how is the first name still coming here? Like, oh, it opens up the other one. Ah. Yamini, this is what is happening. If I use the one from the old one, it opens up the other workbook. And it does the job there. I thought it wouldn't in a new worksheet, but it is every macro that you've saved, I think, is coming. Maybe only because we are still logged on. Yeah, because we haven't closed Excel. That's why I think. It shouldn't, like it was only for that workbook, right? Yes. I just want the macro enabled workbook. Yeah, that's because what will I do with the Excel anyway, right? It's of no use to me. No problem. So just say submit one macro enabled workbook on Blackboard. That's how we do it. Okay, so is that the copy I'm working on? Okay, so do it. No. You see something that's not happening? Names are not being sorted. You haven't sorted them yet. I see them sorted here, but I don't know. I don't know what you did, but I can't see them sorted. Okay, so please ensure that it works. So if I come and I see it's not working, it's a 0. Believe me, it's a 0. Right? So don't call me till you're satisfied. So that's why I said you do your own practice before you call me. And you have enough time. You have till midnight today. I'm going to come and test it. Works? Yes. Does not work? No. That's it. I want to keep this easy for me. And it's easy. Like it's a simple assignment. I don't want to devote time. Okay. I'll take your leave.